focusing on equipping you with AI, machine learning, cloud, and Africa stocking API technology, with the focus of building localized solutions which are well optimized for the current technology realities. So we have a few sessions starting today throughout until December. So this program requires you to join over time for different sessions. Some of them will be 1 hour, some of them will be full day, some of them will be in person, and most of them will be online. So if you're joining us here and you can be able to convene in your city and still share this information and the materials that will be shared with you in the due course, then you are in the right place. Also, if you can create your developer account, I think we'll be sharing those details shortly on the chat. Google developer account, Africa stocking account, that will be a great start so that you are able to follow through and also be able to implement what most will be shared here. Also, you have a Slack channel that we'll be sharing in the chat that will be supporting this process throughout. So feel free to share what is not working, especially code snippets or anything that maybe might be confusing. Everyone who needs to be there will be there to support you. So again, I would like to welcome you to this session. So I would like to hand over to Graham shortly to say 1 or 2 words, and then Alela, who is from Google, and then we'll kickstart this program. So Graham, please, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you guys can hear me well. My earpiece can be sometimes a bit troubling. So welcome to this 3rd edition of the Trainer of Trainers Building with AI series. We are excited you're here. If you have not seen the tentative structure, we're going to also share that on the chat so that you know how we have prepared this to run. But ideally, we're going to have minimum of 3 physical sites: Nairobi, Lagos, and South Africa. And the rest of Africa will be virtual. However, we know several countries will also be doing physical meetups, which we shall facilitate, from Uganda all the way to Tanzania, Ghana. Ghana have a pretty cool space now with Google AI in Ghana. So we have access to that space. From last week, we did some conversations with Google partner team. So of course, we'll continue talking to the partner team and see if we have any other centers, but at least Ghana will be able to be live from that location. There's of course Southern Africa region and up to DRC. So secondly, we are going to have 3 languages, and the content that you create, we are encouraging you as you prepare your content to prepare it in such a way that it can also be shareable as we are doing the social media push. So we're going to be looking at English content, we're going to be looking at French content and Portuguese content. So as we prepare these next 3 months, also you guys be preparing what talk you want, and you can also syndicate it, which means it can live on your own, LinkedIn or on your own Medium, even as we share it on the notebooks. So this is an opportunity for you to market yourself as an expert. We are going to be working with Oliver to make sure that locally in Kenya and in all the cities, we also get you a 1 to 2 minute video about what you're working on. So as I always say, if you know any video guys, in Kenya we are covered, in Nigeria we are covered, in South Africa we are covered. But if you know any video guys in your city, DRC, Tanzania, Uganda, let us know so that we organize with them. Oliver is on the chat. He'll also be able to get that. So you can do at least a 1-minute video for you. Apart from that, also, there are many incentives we'll be having. So as we go through the months, we are going to be also adding incentives. Some of them are financial, some of them are swag. So of course, keep locked in. And yeah, I think for the materials of you sharing on your social media, hopefully you should be getting that in a couple of days. Which means maybe we'll have to get everyone's photos. I think we'll coordinate that. So you will share with us your favorite picture, and then we'll set up for you a social media card. Then after a while, we'll now work on the videos. So it'll be a 1-minute video. Some K mentioned that we could use Loom. I'll also share that on the chat. So Loom might also work. So ideally, we could start with Loom. It's we give you access. It's free, and then we will scale from there. Back to you, MK.
Thank you so much, Graham. We have enabled presenter mode for everyone on the call, so feel free to turn on your video so that in case you want to ask something, you can raise up your hand physically. We want to make this experience as engaging as possible, which means that you can actually interrupt the presenter, maybe ask something that is not clear. Also fire up your machine, make sure your environment is ready. So that you can follow through step by step, because mostly it will be hands-on. But without further ado, I would like to welcome Alela to say 1 or 2 words. Alela, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Atieno Alela, part of the DevRel team at Google, supporting this Build with AI initiative by Africa's Talking. Super happy to be here. I'm going to just be on the background most of the time, providing any support required. Part of the things we are hoping to achieve is to ensure that developers take a deep dive into both Google technologies and, of course, Africa's Talking technologies, but hands-on. So providing that hands-on experience to the learners, get them to actually interact with the tools, ask questions, and just ensure that they're able to build, and hopefully solutions come up from it by the time we're done with the program. On our end, we have provided credits, so we are hoping to at least see developers using this and leveraging on it, just so that we're also able to see the impact and see how best we can, support more developers across the ecosystem. That's it from our end. We are super excited to have this program running, and we are hoping for the best outcome. So thank you all for joining us, in this initiative. That's all I have to say. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Alela. Without further ado, I would not like to keep here and talk a lot. I would like to welcome Sylvia to take us through the first session. Sylvia, if you can hear me, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you, MK. Hi. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are at. Hi, and welcome to today's session. I will basically take you through the very first Africa's Talking module that we'll be presenting in this series, in this particular program. So I will share my screen and get to share that. Apologies for the delay in sharing the notebook itself. There are some restrictions on the notebook, so we're going to have that sorted, and in a few you will be able to get access to the entire notebook via the link. If you look at the event page, the link has been put there, but you may not have access yet, so no worries. Whatever I will be sharing is what you will see on your end, so it will be the exact same thing. It's no worries. I will basically just go through it step by step so that you understand as a trainer what is required, and as what the attendees are supposed to be doing in that particular section, just so that you can have the good overview. I bear in mind that some people may not be familiar with Africa's Talking APIs, so this will be sort of the introduction to get you started. All right. That being said, yes, the notebook is visible. Fantastic. All right, emojis are welcome, thumbs up, guys. Yeah, it's very weird to be speaking to names. So if you can engage, please, it's very important for the speaker, for the presenter. All right, so just going through it step by step, it basically covers, the details are on the notebook itself. It's the foundation. So this particular notebook is the first one to help you get started in API knowledge. So when the attendees, when the program participants, let's call them participants, when the participants are taking on cloud, Google Cloud and GenAI together with APIs, they need to know basics of all of them. So take this as the introductory course to APIs as well. If maybe you are not familiar with APIs yourself, this is also your way to sort of get introduced and understand how APIs work. Starts with the entire explanation. You will basically run the notebook itself. When you run it, you move to the next one. All the instructions are there, which we're going to just look at right now. So we're going to have to create Africa's stocking accounts. So if you haven't created an Africa's stocking account, you will be able to do so in this particular section, and then you'll be able to retrieve your API key and your username, and that's what we'll be using for calling the particular APIs, right? So yeah, it's approximately 2 hours, but if you're very fast, it could be a couple of minutes, right? So that's just the average. All right, so getting started. This is just everything particularly needed in this notebook. So you understand what APIs are, Africa's stocking platform and a few of the products, the REST API principles, how to make an API call, how to get a response, what those are, and how you're able to understand the message that you get back or that response. Basic things just like authentication and security that will just be on a basic level for this particular notebook to help you understand how to place things, and then how to read and interpret API documentation, right? So that's basically it. This hamburger menu, this one, is what will be guiding the discussion, where up here right now, yeah, welcome module and objectives, right? So this is where we are at, but you can move through just to navigate your way through the notebook. Yeah, so it's important to have this like pinned somewhere so that you can easily go back and refer. There'll be some notes and pointers, which we'll go through here and what is required of those. There'll be notes and pointers so that the participants and yourself can be able to test out some of the concepts. This will be very important, especially when working on the final project. Some of these pointers will just be to guide or to direct the participants to understand or do some extra studies on the side, but it will be important in the final project because you need to implement some of the things you're learning here. And then there'll be office hours. So you'll get questions on particular aspects that are maybe challenging or the participants are not able to understand, as well as the discussion forum on the event page, as well as the Slack page. So all those will be different links, are the links here. For now, it's just the link to the event page that is put here. I'll also add the Slack channel so that at any point, if there's anyone stuck, they can always reach out. Office hours, again, will be found on the main event that will be published. Will have all the links. So on this particular day, when the office hours, when you log on to that event page, you can join the call from right there. So they'll be able to join in and share anytime they're stuck and everything of that sort. All right, so that's just, yeah, the full breakdown of what is required, of what is in this notebook. Then the first part will be getting to understand what an API is. Won't read what is there because it totally covers it, but I'll just focus on the image just to make it understandable. The basic concept of an API is that you send a request to get a response. So the API sort of is the interface. It's literally the I in API is interface. It's literally the interface between the user and the application itself. So anything the user requests for is the API sends to the application and then gets a response and brings it back to the user. That's why the analogy of a waiter in a restaurant, and the application being the kitchen, the chef where the food is being prepared, and the user being the person waiting, the customer in the restaurant. So they request for chicken and chips. Yeah, I clearly would like chicken and chips right now. So they request for chicken and chips, and then that is sent to the kitchen, and then the response comes back. The response could be that, unfortunately, there's no chicken. Would you like to change your order to beef? Anything of that sort. So that API, in high level thinking, that is what it is. But in depth, we'll now get to see what that means for particular applications, and in the tech aspect, how exactly you're able to construct APIs, and in the communication aspect, because Africa's Talking uses SMS APIs, airtime, voice, and the likes. So that's the deconstruction that will be happening there. So even as you're helping the participants navigate the program, ensure you really help them understand what that is useful for, because when they're creating the final project, they'll need to know which one they can place where, right? They'll need to know which API call they can make, which one would be relevant for their particular project, which one would not, depending on whatever they want to use. If they're new to APIs, just have them have that basic understanding, and then they'll be able to run it. All right, so proceeding from there, this is just examples. We'll be focusing on REST APIs. There are other types of APIs, but for this particular case, we will use REST. So we'll be able to, basically for web services, that's very common. We'll be able to get further into that, starting with the principles. Basic principles for REST APIs are you're able to get, post, put, and delete. So you can retrieve the data, you can send the data, so you can add data to the database, you can retrieve something you had put in the database with a get. You can update data if you want to change. My age was 12, but this year I've turned 13, so you can update age to 13, or you can remove the entire entry altogether. So those are like the four requests that are usually in REST API. And some key concepts to bear in mind are the endpoint. So when you're sending this particular API call, so the URL where it's accessed, in this particular case, this is an example of, let me highlight it. This is an example of the messaging endpoint, where if you want to send a message, this is where the API is accessed. This is what you ping. So there'll be URLs, various of them in the documentation, which we'll get to see in a minute. So depending on what you do, you have to really ensure you're pointing to the right endpoint. And then the headers, this is the extra information sent with the request. So when you're sending that particular request, there's some extra information like authentication, that is the API key and your username, that will be able to identify you in the system. There's the body, that's the actual data. If it's an SMS, what's the message, what's the number that is required to actually post this request. And then the response is what you get back. So this is what you'll be analyzing, and basically that's how an API call works, right? You send with all those details, receive certain details, and then you can be able to interpret the message from there. That's what we'll be getting into. And then we'll start with making the first API call. So all these cells, users will be running, right? So when you run it, it runs as is. So this code will be put in there for most of them, just to help with the understanding. The aspects where the code is not there, the participant is just supposed to try on their own. And you can beforehand, just so that you know what exactly is expected of them, so that you have done this before. Making our first API call was random. This was just a website that predicts age based on a name. And I sent my name. Again, I don't know why my age is written here as 71, because if you know me, you know that I'm actually 16. Yeah, it's just a phenomenon. I have never grown past that age. So I wonder why this one is 71, but we'll go with it. So it's just to help you understand what you are particularly doing with APIs. It's nothing complicated. So this is the URL, there's your endpoint, and then you give it, the parameter you're sending is a name. If I was to say the name, for example, Alice, yeah, and then you run it, you'll get a random age. So this is the response you get out of that particular data set. It's just a random one to help you understand how APIs work. But then now, yeah, you change the name, view different ages, just to have the participants understand how this particular API calling works and what it entails. So you change it as often as you can. Bob and Alice are usually our security guys. Yeah, they do the most. Oh, Bob is also 71, so that's apparently my age mate in this data set. But that is to give you an understanding. Once that deliverable is achieved, so at the end of this item number 4, making the first API call. The participants are supposed to be able to understand how APIs work, how to make an API call, and at least have an idea of what to get back as a response. So now from item 5, we get into Africa's talking APIs particularly, right? So now the communication APIs. So for this is our developer documentation. Open it in another tab, then I will switch to that in a few. But the participants are basically supposed to understand the various APIs that Africa's Talking offers. Just to make this easier, yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll start with this four main basic ones: SMS, voice, USSD, and airtime. There are other APIs like data and SIM swap, but for purposes of understanding, for introduction, we'll start with this main 4. If you're not familiar with Africa's Talking APIs, SMS API enables you to plug in SMS to your application, whatever you're building. So you plug in an SMS API such that in your product, mobile app, web app, desktop app, whatever you've built, you can input a message and numbers, and a message will go out to people. So depending on whatever you're building, you can integrate SMS to serve different purposes. It could be marketing, it could be OTPs, it could be a welcome message when you log onto the platform, whatever way SMS works for you. For voice, let me tie SMS with airtime because they work in a similar way. The same way, if you plug in the airtime API, you're able to add an amount and a number, and you're able to send airtime to particular users. So think about it like incentivizing, be it gaming apps or gaming modules, or even just surveys and anything that requires incentivizing, or maybe redeeming something in your application. Users can input a number and they can receive airtime, right? And then voice and USSD work in a similar way. For USSD, the way you'd get the menus, one response leads you to another page or another. So for USSD API, you map out your pages, you map out the plan that if a user inputs this, this is what this leads to. If they select this, just with your normal USSD knowledge, that's how USSD APIs work. And they work similar to voice. Voice can give you a similar capability where you map out responses like a call center, where you, instead of USSD being written, it's now in voice form, where the agent is able to speak and tells you select 1 for English, select 2 for Swahili, select 3 for Yoruba. Then you're able to select and proceed to the next page, to the next menu, to the next page. Yeah, page will work. The same way, voice can also be used for recording, for call conferencing, for redirecting. So building around that is also similar to the USSD way too. For easy understanding, SMS and airtime work in a similar way, voice and USSD work in a similar way. We can head on to the developer page. Let me share this tab instead, just to get you acquainted with the Africa's Talking developer documentation, because you will be guiding people through using this developer documentation for most of the segments. Yeah, this is our developer documentation. There is the Africa's Talking Ninja. Developer documentation basically contains this sidebar. The sidebar here is what I'm looking at. There are tutorials, API references, tools, and support. So if you've used any tech product, this is of course not familiar, not foreign. It's very familiar. You can start off with tutorials if you're very unsure about how the APIs work. You can always refer to various parts of the API referencing, where you can find key aspects, you can find code snippets, you can find sample responses, the endpoints, like I mentioned, are right here, different parameters that are required. It's your basic documentation for any tech product in any API you have ever used. It works in a similar way. And it also has additional tools like how to install the SDKs. And then there is the simulated phone, because for Africa's Talking purposes, since it's a communication API based system, you can either do a simulated phone, where if I connect to the phone, I can be able to, if I'm using Sandbox, in my building, I can be able to simulate the process. If it's USSD, I can, wow, okay. Yeah, I can do whatever that is, although this won't go through, yeah. This has not gone through, of course, I just guessed random numbers, but you can simulate it here. If you're doing messaging on Sandbox, you will receive the message in your inbox. The simulated phone is just a simulated version when you are calling APIs in Sandbox. When you are calling live APIs, they will be arriving on your phone. So you'll be able, I'll show in the notebook where you can actually get a sender ID, airtime activated, or a voice number, or a USSD code to do it live if you must do it live, if you want to do it live as well. So there'll be both allocations. The Postman collections are here and there are always support avenues. So this is the documentation that is being referenced in that particular section. I'll come back here, yes, in the documentation. So we'll focus on SMS and airtime as an introduction, but the participants and yourselves, feel free to go through the developer documentation just to understand all the various aspects of the APIs. All right, now before we get into this, let me go back to the tab. Are we still together? We said we're working with emojis, eh?
I don't see the emojis.
Oh, goodness. All
Unfortunately,
right.
Sylvia, the platform doesn't have emojis unless people turn up their videos and they're like thumbs up.
There we go.
Those emojis.
Yes.
Emojis are available on the chat.
Yes. So we'll work with chat or videos. Why doesn't this platform have emojis? That's very unfortunate. But yeah, I hope we are still together, getting into setting up. All right. If at any point something isn't clear as well, yeah, thank you. I see emojis. I like it. Thank you. All right. I see emojis in the chat. It's very encouraging. All right. Moving on. So now when you're actually setting up Africa Stocking, you've seen the developer dashboard, but you need to create an account. So this GitHub repository guides you on how to create an account. I will not go through account creation for this particular part. That one is just very straightforward, but I can show you the GitHub repository. But the deliverables out of this one are just to create your account, know where to access your username and your API key. You can start with the Sandbox environment just to be familiar with it. And then, yeah, access those ones. So linking that GitHub account is over here. Here we are on the GitHub account. It gives you an overview of Africa Stocking and how cool we are, and how amazing we are. Yeah, of course. But the very first link is a guide on how to create an Africa Stocking account. So in case you do not have an Africa Stocking account, or when you're guiding the participants, you can start off here. It has pictures, I promise. So it will guide you on what is expected. You basically land on the Africa Stocking website. This one I'll go to. I'll just not create the account. I'll log into mine. So you can go to africastocking.com. If you're following along on your laptop, africastocking.com is the link I will be at. And even there, you'll find the documentation. If you go to africastocking.com, over here on developers, there's documentation, right? So that's where this is the website that kind of has everything. So africastocking.com, get here, you click on the login page, you create your account. Very easy. You'll have a quick onboarding survey. It takes less than 30 seconds just to say, yeah, your role and how you found out about Africa Stocking, nothing much. And then once you've created an account, you'll need to verify your email in order to get access. So there are two parts of this Africa Stocking account. There's the Sandbox and there's the team side. What that basically means is Sandbox is the test environment, team side is live. So when you're creating a live application, it's divided into teams. Just for your organization of your applications, there are various teams. So if you create a team, it's for you to be able to navigate. You create apps inside the teams. You'll see it in the next one. But the understanding, which is important for you to get, is that you create a team. If there's a team you work on different projects with, it's for you to be able to manage that. Another team where you do side projects with, another team where you work with at work, another team for school or anything of that sort that you have. You just do it in teams, and then inside those teams, you create different applications and different members. So yeah, once you verified, you'll be able to add a new team. You do that, you get different teams, you add, this is the team dashboard where you have different applications, and you can add members as you wish. But creating an application is our particular focus for this one. You give it any random name, but a unique username, because in the system, the username is what identifies your application. You'll be consuming the APIs via the apps. So you need to create a unique username for you to be able to access the system. Once you've created that, you'll have all your applications listed here, but click on the app dashboard, and this is where you land. So allow me to now just switch to my account that is logged in and show you that particular process. Here we are. So here is the logged in version. This is the account. I'll just take this particular, you can see there's a sandbox app and there are live apps. So we'll start with the sandbox app just to see how that looks like. This is where you will see the data. If you start consuming the APIs or using different products, these are just metrics, but this is the username, which I said would be very important. You'll have two important elements in your application that you'll be required to use as authentication: the username and API key. And those were the two objects you're supposed to understand where to get them for this particular item. So your app username is always here. We'll see between Sandbox and Live the differences, but your username is always on the dashboard when you land on your app. And then in your settings, that's where you get your API key. Very important to consider, there is 2FA enabled for all Africa's talking accounts. So in order for you to get your API key, you have to input your password. And once you input your password, you'll get the link on your email, and then now you access your API key. API key is a whole string, very long, so just copy it. Once you see it, you'll never see it again, because right now I generated an API key, but as you can see, when I go for API key again, I have to regenerate another one. Once you generate a new one, previous ones are all obsolete. So ensure the participants and yourself, you know how to get your username and your API key. If you go back to the main dashboard, if you use a live app, just click on the name to open the app dashboard. They look more or less the same. Very important things to note. This is green. Green means live. The orange one is in Sandbox. Another difference is that for Sandbox, you didn't create a team. So you didn't have to create an app and to give it a unique username. But for the live app, you have to give it a unique username. So the username will be different here. Take note, when you are calling an endpoint, if you're calling the live endpoint, ensure you're passing the live username and the live API key. If you're calling the Sandbox endpoint, ensure you're passing the Sandbox username and the Sandbox API key. Those are like FAQs to help debug. At least remember where you picked your username was green or orange to know whether you are in the right place or not. The API key is found in the same place. In the settings, you get your API key same way, 2FA. So you need to enter your password in order to retrieve your API key. Once you have your username and your API key, again, all these details on how to get the username and API key is on that GitHub repository as well. So if you follow it along to create your account and you're able to retrieve your username and API key, we test that out in the module. So we come back to our module, lots of switching tabs. Hope you're following along, but yeah, you're able to get username and API key. That's the important part. And then we'll just try and test it out below. Now this one has nothing major to it, just to help you see whether you successfully identified your username and your API key, right? So you input your details in this widget just to confirm that you were able to actually get your username and your API key. All right. So that's mostly it. If you're able to get Sandbox one, if it was the live one, like mine was, yeah, that was my username. You just run it and ensures that this is the username you get. The API key, I haven't set a value, so you can set your value for that particular aspect. And whatever API key, I mean, do it that way because it's a secret, but yeah, so you get your API key. This is basically for you to test if you've understood how to get your username and API key. That will be very important going forward. Let me not leave my username there. All right, so once you've got it, security is very important. Just for the purposes of the Google Colab notebook, we'll be adding it in our secrets. So this is just sort of, it's developer basics. Yeah, it's just enabling developers to know best practices, because even as you're learning foundations, learn them right. It's very important so that as you go forward, you know how to do it right. Don't try and implement good metrics or good standards at the end. So once they retrieve that, add them to your secrets. So add them, I just gave it ATA API key, put the value there, AT username, put the value there. So if you change, for example, my username now is Sandbox, but if I was to change it to the live one, I don't know why I crammed this particular one. But yeah, I can change it and save it. This just means I change it here every time I call it in any of the cells that I'm running in the notebook, it'll just pick it from there. So it's just best practices to save it in the secrets. So these tipped sessions that will be happening all through the notebook are just to give the participants an idea of best practices or further knowledge on the concept. Yeah. So add them in the secret section, and then we'll proceed. We'll be picking them from there as we're continuing. If they're not familiar with how to set up secrets in Google Colab, just added this small snippet for them to be able to, oh boy, this laptop will die. Yeah, for them to be able to set that up and use that in the next sections. So once they've successfully set that up, when you run the cell, it will successfully tell you that you've loaded them from Google. It successfully loads them from Google Colab once you set them up. So that's cool. Fantastic. So far, we've understood how APIs work. We've known what is required of APIs, and we've set up an African stocking account, and we're able to retrieve the username and API key. Awesome. Sorry. Awesome. We are cruising very nicely. See, we are closer to the end, which is nice. However, this is now applying what we've learned now in actual Africa stocking APIs. So that's what is remaining. Moving on next, but just before that, back to my, sorry, I'm going back to the chat just so that I can keep tabs and ensure we're still together. Yeah, awesome. Love the thumbs ups. Thank you, Emmanuel. Recording of this class. Yes, the session is being recorded. The recording will be shared. Is this a class? So am I an instructor? I'm just saying, this sounds nice. It's a good ring to it. And then any other question? This is for claiming the credits, GCP credits. Okay, I see. Roland has a question on claiming the GCP credits. I think that will be covered after. Let's finish with this module, then we'll be able to get to that. Awesome. Thank you, MK, for the emoji. Thank you, Simon, for the emoji. Let us proceed. Almost done. Almost there, guys. Almost there. Switching back to the other tab. Awesome. So now, now the basics are out of the way. If you find the tone in this notebook very much like how I would speak, relax. I kind of wrote it, so but it's okay. I hope you enjoy it. But yeah, documentation again is at that link, so always refer to it. In case of anything, always refer. If there are any required parameters, ensure they're there. If there are any optional parameters that are giving you errors, confirm if you actually need them for that particular call or not. So we are going to test out the full encode, and then to proceed to test out the APIs on Sandbox, you can immediately use it. Let me go back to my Sandbox and use that to show you how that works. All right, so this is my account. We'll go back to the home page. Yeah, this is the account page once you already create your account. On Sandbox, if you want to send an SMS, you simply create your own shortcodes. My shortcodes, I already have some and I can create. So you can create a particular shortcode, a series of 4 to 5 digits. So 98, it is very random. There we go. That shortcode has been created. So to send an SMS, I can use this shortcode immediately from the Sandbox side. and it will be used on the simulated phone. On the sandbox page, just to make it easier for you, you can launch your simulated phone from here. Ensure in your code when you're sending an SMS, you're sending to the number that is logged onto the simulated phone, like the number you used to switch on that simulated phone, right? That works fantastic. But if you are working live, if you're using a live app, you by default do not have airtime enabled, do not have a voice number, do not have a sender ID or a USSD code mapped. On Sandbox, you can also create your own USSD code. But when you're doing things live, when you're actually using a live phone, you notice that for live, there is a wallet. And in your wallet, there'll be an amount. If it's your very first time creating an account, you'll have a little token in the wallet just to help you get started. If it's not your first time, you can always top up in the billing section. You can always top up in whatever way is best for you and update. You don't need to top up too much, just a little to get it going. For example, to send an SMS, it's 80 cents Kenya shillings. Trying to do the conversion to other currencies in my mind, that server has failed, so it is not a lot of money. Let's focus on that. It's cents worth of money, so it's very little money. You'll be able to send an SMS, for example, with the amount that you usually get pre-topped up in your account with every new account, you can send about 12 SMSs. So just to get you started, right? Because this is live, you automatically will not have those services enabled. So just to make this easier, you will need to request for a sender ID, which will eventually pop up here. Yeah, at whatever sender ID you get. This is usually the one that is mapped to developers just to help you. They work in the same way, but because it's live, we need to map it to your account. And in order for it to be mapped to your account, we need this, the username. So that's why this was very important. Even if you made it very, very unique, don't worry. Every time you land on the dashboard, you'll be able to see your username. So when you go back to the notebook where we're at, you'll see there's this form, and then you'll have it mapped in about less than 12 hours. As you wait for your live sender ID to be mapped, you can always use the sandbox. Don't panic. Don't say that you can't proceed with the module because you don't have a sender ID or you don't have airtime activated. It's fine. Relax. You can use this form. Let me just open the form to show you what is inside the form, that you can be able to guide on that front as well. Yes, this is the form. So you just request for resources, you share the app username. Like I've said, it's case sensitive, so share it exactly as is. Like I've shown you where to pick it, your email address for that particular account, and what request you're submitting. So is it a send ID request, a live voice number, USSD live code, or activation of airtime? So once that is received on our side, we'll be able to map it to your account. Nothing complicated about that. So once that is shared, we'll be able to go live. But even before then, you can always run it on Sandbox. Even done the, we've even gone ahead to give you the necessary packages. So you simply run that cell and it installs everything for you. Then you can be able to start. Yeah, you can be able to start with credentials. So this is just a mock of a request to send an SMS, right? Function that sends an SMS. I'm getting the data from the Colab secrets. It was called AT username and AT API key. You can rename as you wish, as long as you call it. And once you call them to the function, you replace this with a number that you would want to receive the message on. And then when the sender ID is enabled, you activate it here. If not, you can actually use the sandbox. So for sandbox, you'll do it on the simulated phone. So this part is supposed to be done. Let me see what I have in my sandbox and do a simulated phone so that you can see what is expected. I'll just pick one of the short codes I have so that the message will come from there. And let me switch on the simulated phone with my number just for this demo. Go back and switch on my simulator. Awesome. So the simulated phone is on. Just switched it on with a number. I hope I set the right authentication is invalid. That is the sandbox API key and the username. So, oh my goodness. Oh yes, I changed this exactly. But I'm using sandbox. All right. That's better. I'll keep the API key just because I haven't changed it since. And I hope it really is the one. Yes, so this is the success message. So if it's successfully sent, it has taken 80 cents simulated. And yeah, so I should be looking for this message. Hi there, look at you doing amazing, because we're all about motivation here. Let me switch to this tab. Yes, there we go. There's my simulated phone. Hi there, look at you doing amazing. To opt out of this free SMS and this. So this is what it looks like. This is what sending an SMS looks like. Wow, I appreciate that the demo gods have respected me this particular day. It doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, you just switch on your simulated phone with the number that you have and ensure that number is the one that you add as recipients. You can add multiple, just look at the documentation. You can add as many as you want and then send the message. This I picked from I can just show you from my sandbox in my SMS, my short codes. I just picked one. This is the one I set up when we were on this call. I had this one set up initially. Either can work. You can create your own shortcode and have it running. So that just shows you that this works. If you want to do it live, it will basically do the same thing on a live phone, but you will need to be marked with a sender ID. A difference between a shortcode and a sender ID, a shortcode works two ways. So mostly for two-way SMS, you send and you receive, but a sender ID only works one way. It's just for promotional texts. For OTPs, just coming one way. The receiver is recipient is not able to respond to that particular message. Yeah, so this should help the participants and yourselves just understand how see a successful message. This one is fairly step by step, should be successful. Allow me to just hash out this once more. It will give me an error, of course, because the number is incorrect. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to leave it blank. Yeah, invalid phone number. But that is the case. Yeah, so just concepts to help the participants understand, was it successful? Did it fail? If it's successful, means you've successfully called an API, right? So now you know how that works. That's the entire concept. This one concept, understanding how the API works and running this one cell has given you the entire overview. So for all other APIs, other types of APIs, it's just recreation of the same. And that's what the participants will be doing. So once they have this, all the knowledge they have from here henceforth will be building up on that logic. That's why this is a very fundamental part, just to help you understand what's going on. So you can see the API responses, a sample of a response. This is the JSON format, which was what was here in like a horizontal line. But now this one makes it easier to see. If it's successful, you can see cost was 80 cents Kenya shillings. Convert in your mind to the right, and then the number was this particular one, depending on which one it is. An important aspect as well is this, always put the country code when running this, because the resource works all across. So whatever country code you put, that's where it will go. If you don't put a country code, the API is also confused because it works everywhere. Now it's wondering, where exactly am I going? But that's basically it. So understanding the response gives you an overview to understand what you are able to get. Fantastic. That is the core concept in the entire module, just to get you to this point, right? To get you to understand that. That's why everything that is left from here is more of a challenge and just learning how to do it better. Again, refer to the documentation to always understand where things are. Take note of the status, the cost, the number. Ensure that status will tell you whether they were successfully sent or what kind of error, and then you refer to the documentation to see where the problem is. Cost, ensure it's the correct cost. You might have sent multiple messages without knowing. So you see a higher cost, it means you sent to multiple numbers or something, and the number confirmed that it was the correct recipient of that. Again, if there are any questions, there's always the discussion forum, the Slack, the office hours, and all those avenues just to help people understand. So next, use that SMS API, just a challenge to sort of understand it better. This was the program cell. Now run it on your own. Change the number, change the message, identify the cost, the message ID, like just try and navigate, do it in different forms. And in case you're stuck at any point, you can always share. And then the same thing now happens with airtime. Airtime, let me use the documentation to, okay. Let me use the documentation to show the code snippet. But yeah, airtime works in a similar way. Username and API key are initialized here. This is what I wanted. So the same way in messaging, you use the number, the message, and the sender ID. In airtime, it's just the number, the amount, and the currency code. So that's why I said SMS and airtime work in a similar way, and they're very good for understanding the core concept or the basics of how the API works. So when doing airtime API, it's similar to SMS, just add the currency and amount. Refer to the documentation. Request for airtime activation. It will be activated in the same Google form, just to have it activated, and then you can be able to do it live, where the user can actually receive airtime. So the challenge would just be to now replicate the same cell run for SMS, replicate the same for airtime, just to ensure that runs. And in case the participant is stuck at any point, they can share on the program page. Yeah, and then now just an overview of voice and USSD, which now work in sessions. These ones work a bit differently from SMS and airtime. It will be delved too deeper in the next modules, but just to give you a good understanding, the concept or the introduction was all on moving from one session page to another. So when you're developing for this particular APIs, you map out the different journeys, like the different aspects. If you take this route, if you give this response, if you select this choice, this is how you move, the other one this. So you map out the pages that are supposed to be moved to next and map out the entire journey. So that's how voice and USSD works. You'll at least, if you do just like SMS, if you learn about one, can easily implement the concepts in the other one. So in the next modules, you'll be able to learn about one, then easily implement. Again, this incremental knowledge is important even when you're doing the final project, capstone project. Participants, when they're doing the capstone project, they'll need to implement this knowledge together with the Google Cloud knowledge and the Gemini knowledge. So it's going to be a whole collection, but very fun and interesting. A few tips: use the secrets. Again, if you're learning foundations, always learn them with best practices. Just monitor your API usage. You can set limits just to ensure that you don't overdo. You get alerts and notifications when you go below the threshold. Just basic security tips. And in summary, that is what the first module does. Right. I have been speaking for a very long time, but yes, the overview. Bulk would be in this particular section and running everything and creating an account and accessing items, which of course will make more sense when you do it on your own or when you get hands-on on your own. Again, we will share the notebooks, a few final things, and we'll be able to share them. But yeah, everyone can be able to run this and execute on their side. Whew. Okay, all right. Yes, we'll share access to the Colab. Yes, there was just a slight challenge with sharing access outside Africa's stocking of documents was a bit restricted, so we are working on that so that we access it. Then we'll share it. All the links though are linked or are linked already on the program page. You just don't have access right now, but access will be given to everyone. All right, that is the deep dive of module 1. Understanding and going through all the concepts. Once you get the notebook, feel free to run it if you have any questions. I'm always available online. mostly available online almost all the time, basically. So just reach out and I'll be able to help debug, understand, give you the core concepts. Build up on this will be easy if you get this the first time. Thank you very much. I see the emojis still coming in. Love them. Appreciate the interaction. But that is it. Yeah. If there are no further questions, over to you, MK.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. That was quite a deep dive, and I hope the participants joining us have really gotten the part. So if there's any question, we'll give it like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you can ask. And then we'll welcome Douglas to take us the next stage. But in the meantime, this is to Alela. If you try to get the cloud profile, it requests you to add a debit or credit card. I don't know if there's a workaround on that that could really help guys on this. If not, you can get back to us later with maybe a workaround. All right, if there's no question, I hope it was crystal clear. And I would like to welcome one and only Douglas Mwangi to take us to the next module.
Yes, thank you, MK. I'll proceed to share my screen. Right over with me. Perfect, perfect. Okay. Perfect, perfect, good. Yes. So thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, MK. So I will take you through the second part of the AT module. So in this one, we are going through the Africa Stocking APIs, but now a bit advanced. Then we are going to cover things like webhooks and callbacks, things you should know. Um, so the first parts in module one, we learned what APIs are, how they work, the fundamentals, how to use Africa Stocking APIs, how to authenticate. And now in this section, I'm going to cover airtime API, SynSwap, webhooks and callbacks, then multi-API workflows. Then you're going to touch on the AI bits. So the code for this is also available on my GitHub link. Let me share it. Yeah. Oh, just remembered it could private to public. Yeah, it's now public. Good. So before we proceed, it's good we check the kind of environment we have. The first thing is to check in the OS information. Our notebook is running on Ubuntu 22 LTS. Then another check is to see the packages. This could be anything. This could be maybe Africa stocking, basically just to check what you have installed. Ignore these parts. This part here. I wanted to include a YouTube video screen recording, but then I realized this package is outdated, so it doesn't work. But let's jump into the airtime API. So the use cases for airtime are customer rewards. Say you want think of like a bonga points to your customers. Yeah. For those of us, is everybody in Nairobi, Kenya? Okay. Sorry? Increase the phone. Okay, good. Yes. So bonga points is in Kenya is basically it's like loyalty points. Yeah. So you could use airtime for loyalty points. Another thing is for top ups where you could sell airtime. Now let's proceed. The first thing you need to do is install the Python SDK for stocking. So install it basically this way. And then this one went up to go down. Yeah. Then this is how you initialize. Yeah. So basically you're going to put the username and the API key. In the previous module, Sylvia showed us how to have this environment secrets inside your notebook. So here I have mine. And part of this will use sandbox, and then part of it will use live keys, production keys. Yeah. Yeah. The most basic way to send airtime is to invoke users. So actually, let me just go to live. So we can see things as they are. Yes. So this is the same code, the one on the sector. It's also bits of it are the ones in the notebook. Basically, at the top here, I'm importing the API keys, username and API key, and then using them to trigger the link on your website, things like that. So let me invoke this icon. Let's see. Yes. So this one, let me first confirm that it's live. Okay. Let me switch. Oh, something else for this course, we are using Python Flask, but feel free to use something else. You could use, you could go pure Node or even Express, or basically anything. The equivalent snippets for it are also on the AT developer documentation. For example, the one for airtime. The equivalent for it is this. So feel free to copy this, run it on your man, and get the equivalent for the language that you use. Let me do it a quick one so you can see. So just pasted it, and this is the basically the same thing. Yeah. Okay, now back to the code. So here I've invoked the send airtime, and for this case, actually, I could use someone's phone number. And someone please share their phone number. For some free airtime. Nice, just right. Sending to just what not sure just what has gotten it. Oh, the links provided are not asking for billing details. That's a question for MK. Kuna swali hapo. Perfect. Yes. You received 10 bob. Needs to do the same with the MK's number here. Yes. So also sent the same to MK. So under the hood, what's happening is that it is I'm invoking the airtime API, then it is validating that request back to me. Then I give it a go ahead and it sends the money. Basically, it's a protection mechanism, and I'll take you right where this code is, which is here. So here's where I'm invoking the API call. Then once it receives the request, it hits back at my server, and go to that specific. So under the airtime, and callback URL, there's this callback URL for validation, where I've basically set my server to receive a request from Africa's token, which is now this. Yeah. Yes. So that's a basic example of how to invoke the airtime API and the callbacks involved. Now let's go a bit deeper into webhooks and callbacks. Yeah. So previously we went through the APIs themselves, the REST APIs themselves, and now in this section we have to look into why we need webhooks, why we need callbacks. Why don't we just do polling, things like that. Yeah. So the problem with things like polling is that it's synchronous and inefficient. So if there's no new data, it's basically wasted bandwidth and incurred extra costs. Yeah. But the good thing about webhooks is that the server will tell you when it's ready or when something has happened. Yeah. As is the case with Africa's Talking APIs. Yeah. So webhook is an automated HTTP post request. It could be GET, but our IT APIs use post from the service provider, which is Africa's Talking in this case, to our application, or the listener, which in our case is our Flask app. When that event occurs, for example, when we will send airtime to someone and we need to validate that it's a good request. So we respond with validated. Yeah. Yeah. The other type of callback we have is an event callback. For example, in airtime, we have this one called status. Yeah. And basically, it tells us whether the transaction has finally succeeded or finally failed. Basically, it's about finality status update. Another situation where we find that is in voice, yeah, where a call is done, we get to know what you are charged and things like that. Yeah, I'll show you an example. For example, this one for events. Yeah. The others like for SMS, delivery reports, and things like that. Yeah. So now I'll show you how to set up the listener, your Flask app. First, continue. We should be having that whatever server we start inside this notebook will be local in a way that can't be accessed from outside. And as such, down here we are going to run it through ngrok. Yeah. Down here. So come back up. So the server must first be publicly accessible and prefer HTTPS. At the moment, as Africa's Talking, we are not yet strict on HTTPS, correct? Yeah, we are not yet strict on HTTPS, but it's a habit to always use HTTPS. Then when you receive the request, if it's successful, it's good to respond with the 200, and this should be returned ideally within 500 milliseconds. Needs to be really quick. Otherwise, there'll be a number of retries. Yeah. Another good thing to do is that don't process your heavy logic inside that route. Instead, delegate it to, say, message queue, like RabbitMQ, or a pub subsystem. So basically, you can get the heavy away so you can respond fast. Now, when it comes to things like security, it's good to protect your callback since it's publicly accessible. Ways to do this is having a signature, HMAC signature. basically, and you append it to the header. We've seen this with things like Stripe, things like Flutterwave. So if they don't match, you reject. I know that's an illegal request. Okay, another thing. Another way to have I got checked. Yeah. Another thing to have as a security measure is to prevent replay attacks. So basically, is where you check the timestamp or when the request was made, and then if there's a big time difference, you cancel it out. Another way is to have an IP whitelisting. We have this in the voice API when you're using SIP, where basically you submit your server's IP address to Africa Stocking, and then we whitelist. So we've done it in reverse. Yeah. You can also now do it the other way around, where you whitelist Africa Stocking APIs. Africa Stocking IPs, and any other IP that tries to ping, you just reject. Okay. Good. Now, let's skip this bit for the interest of time. Now, another thing to look into is how do you test and debug? Yeah, one of these is to use. You can either use Postman. Alternatively, you can use tools like webhook.site, which allow you to analyze, the nature of the request. How is it getting in? The headers, the body, the parameters. Another is request win. But now let's jump into the Africa Stocking webhooks themselves. Yeah. So across our different products, we have webhooks and callbacks. We've already covered for airtime. So let's look into the one for 2-way SMS. Let's go to the code. So for this one, I'll switch back to Sandbox. Okay, good. And something that I forgot to mention. Let me show it right now. So this Flask app is running on port 1000 locally. I could have exposed it either using local tunnel or Nginx, but what I'm using is Cloudflare. So basically, these are custom scripts that I've made. Let me show you just how it looks like. So basically, these are just a custom script I've used from Cloudflare. It's a script I made. I'll append the instructions for how to do the same inside here, and then a custom domain. So yeah, but this is like the equivalent of running Nginx HTTP 9000. Yeah, only that I don't like how Nginx changes its subdomain, so I opted to use my own domain. So it is on the same. So it's the same. So this subdomain sandbox.blanks.com is where my server is running on. Then I append the appropriate routes. In this case, it's API/SMS/2way. And the code for it, it's under routes, SMS, then wait, actually I need to update it. I've just seen something. Yeah, so this is the correct callback. Now simulator. My internet's a bit slow. Oh wait, actually did wrong. The invoke the invoke endpoint was to invoke it via get. Two-way was a callback. So. So basically what's happening here is that I want to send an SMS, a two-way SMS. The message will be hello world, and it will be to this number. And the short is 8995. Yeah. So let's run it. Okay, it's been sent. Let's see if it's been delivered. Yes, it's been delivered. Yeah. So by now you might be wondering where I got this 8995 from. So let me take you right there. So inside the Africa's Talking dashboard on the sandbox side, come to shortcodes. Then you can create a shortcode. Yeah. In my case, I created a shortcode called A995. So let me create another one. Find a random number. Okay, that's it. Let's go on. Yeah. Oh, okay. When you attempt multiple times, Africa's Talking will suggest a code for you. So let me use 4029. Yeah. Yes, so now we have another shortcode, 4029. This is the way you can generate your own shortcode, yeah? And how you come and feed it is through the shortcode parameter, yeah, the Python SDK. Yeah. Yeah, so here's the documentation for it. Good. Yeah. Now I can also respond back saying then it will respond because I set it that way. The part that it does that is under it's under this /2way callback. Yeah, it's basically saying there's a response to then the text that you sent. This is basically what you're using. Good. Now away from two-way, the other part is about delivery reports. So the way you set up your delivery reports again, go under SMS, then callback URLs, then delivery reports. In my case, set the domain here, and then the specific route here, it is /delivery reports. This is the way it looks in my code. Basically, when it leaves, when it receives the delivery report, it basically prints it out and responds with a 200. Now, in production, this will be probably something that you're going to throw into a queue, and then maybe the queue will go and store it somewhere. But the most important thing you should know is that this 200 should be responded fast, ideally under 500 milliseconds. Let's see if it actually worked. Yes. So you see, there's that delivery report. The next thing is airtime we'd already covered. The other thing is SimSwap. So for SimSwap, again, let's go back to the code and the SimSwap endpoint. We are going to invoke a SimSwap. SimSwap check. For this one, I'll have to switch back to Sandbox or Live. Confirm. Oh, good. Yeah. For this one, is still on Sandbox. So when you invoke the SimSwap check, get information, and then now you can you will later get a callback that tells you the last time your SIM card was swapped. That is, if it's within the last 6 months. Yeah. So again, we need a callback for that, and then we do that. It's by going to the Africa Stocking dashboards under Insights, callback, then status. Yeah. So again, this is how I've set mine. Same subdomain, just a different route. Yeah. And the way that route looks like is basically this way. Yeah. And then I'm printing that out. The importance of something like SimSwap, which is a pretty new product, is you prevent fraud there. Say, for example, you're a fintech and you want to say send money or lend money to someone, but you're not sure if the person that you did KYC for 6 months ago is still the same person requesting now. So it's like SimSwap will help you know. Something else is when you're saying your app, you want to change the recovery number for a customer, just to be sure that the owner of this account is the one that registered previously. Can use the callback for USSD. Pretty the same. Yeah. Code for it. It's pretty the same. What was it? Here. Most of it Sylvia actually had covered in the previous step. It will likely be covered in the next, right? You're covering USSD, right? Good. Yeah. Also, Ian has a segment on USD, so I won't cover that to save time. Then we have for voice. Is the way the voice one looks like. Basically, you respond with an XML. I'll switch back to live credentials. And then I will invoke some call. Actually, I'll use one of the phone numbers that was there in the chat. Just let me use your number for this. I'm not sure if you've got a call. Let me know once you get a call. Oh, actually, yes. Yeah.
I've gotten a call.
Good. So again, I invoked the call from that endpoint, and then when Josephat picked, it spoke, and then after that it hung up. Yeah. The logic for that is basically here, the XML bits. Where Josephat was told, "Welcome to the service. There's a demo voice application. Goodbye," and it's hung up here. And then after that, a status of the call was sent here. Where is it? Here, where we got the session ID, the type, the caller, the hang-up course, and the destination. Where I set this again, it's
Excuse,
voice,
you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. Oh, perfect. Oh, showing about the events bit. So there's a session ID, event type, caller number, destination number, and hang up course. Yeah, this is what was logged in here, right? And the amount that was spent in that call. So since I used a live number with live credentials, here you'll see there the callback URL is API/voice/instruct, and the events URL is API/voice/events. Let's go next. So how to set up webhooks and a callback listener, this we've already covered. Yeah. The only difference between the code in the VS code and what's in the notebook is that in the notebook we're using ngrok as a reverse proxy tunnel, and here in the code, in the VS code locally in my computer, we're using Cloudflare. But basically they all achieve the same thing here. If you don't have a Grok account, you will need so that you can get an auth token. The credentials for it, here they are. You're going to set them in the notebook environment secrets. Let me see what else. Basically, this is just showing you how to set it up. Some screenshots down here. Yep. These are basically videos showcasing how to basically set up your callbacks, something that you've already covered. Now we are going to jump into, so the importance of, one of the reasons why I shared the GitHub repository so that you can test all of this on your end and also deploy on Google Cloud. There are some Google modules that already cover how to, deploy. This is teaching you about the AT voice responses. That is say, play, get digits, record and dial. The one that we utilized was say, but you can make them as complex as you want them. There's also this part about how to dial a SIP. Yep. This is basically the response. So let's jump. Yeah, to this other part about the multi-API workflow. So here we are going to check the SIM-swap status of a phone number, then send airtime, and then send SMS. So basically, you're checking whether a SIM card has been swapped within a number of days. This is the same logic that was in our code, only that now we've changed it to be multi-step. So we've already covered basically the three APIs. Now we are chaining them together. This is also a lab challenge where the learners will basically do a batch secure top-up by uploading a CSV, and then now the success criteria will be to check what SIM cards have been swapped within the past 7 days, and send airtime and a confirmation numbers for safe numbers. Now this other part will be about Gemini. Parts of Gemini have also been covered in the modules. In this one, we'll install the libraries required. And then, actually, before we proceed, let me show you quickly to get the Gemini API keys. So here you're going to go to aistudio.google.com. Let me show you the URL. .com. Then under here, okay, let me first switch my accounts. Yeah. Then you click on Get API, and if you don't have an API, it will be blank. But if you have, you can see some of them. So create a new key and name it. So in this case, name mine 80 Google course. Then I select a cloud project, Google Cloud projects. So I already have one of them listed, but when you're doing this for the first time, you won't have reset projects here, so you'll have to either import or create. So I click on import. Then you can see the different keys here. So let me choose a random one and import. And then after I've imported, it appears I can select on it and create a key. So now this key is the one that I'm adding to the notebook. And Gemini API key. So it's the one that I've come here and pasted it in here. And then now I will call it, where am I calling it? Let me see. Yeah, and here's where I'm importing it here. And you create a simple Gemini method where you give it a prompt. Oh, something else that I haven't mentioned is the default model. So for this one, let me see, I'm using which one, let me confirm. Yeah, I'm using Gemini 2.0 Flash. So that good. And now I can use it to basically ask a simple question. So this could be anything. Okay, how to make pizza. So basically something pretty simple. Oh, it's taking time. Okay, it already responded. Yeah. So it's basically pretty simple. Where we are looping that in is that we are going to combine the AT API we learned, which is basically for this one is SMS, to either talk or respond to a user. So okay, good. Yeah. So here we receive a command to top up, and then I think something is broken. I suspect something is broken here. Yeah. There's something that I broke and I didn't fully recover from it. But okay. Let me first skip this bit. Yeah, but basically what's going to happen here is that once I fix this bug, is that when we get about our SimSwap status, which is basically these responses that we are getting here. Let me go to SimSwap. Let me show you how a response for SimSwap looks like. This is how our response for SimSwaps looks like, whether it was swapped or swapped or failed. We are going to use that response today to do with it. So for example, block swapped, things like that. Then now decide whether to proceed with the top up, and if it fails, we generate an AI response. This AI reply method, I had a problem with it up here. It's something I haven't quite figured why it failed. But yeah, now the lab challenge that the learners will get is basically to run the same, check as recent SIM swap, whether it was swapped, whether it's okay, and then send an airtime and a confirmation message. If there's no top-up happening, we are going to give them an AI reply by SMS. No, let me jump. Basically, it's the same logic here. We are using the same AI reply method, which got broken up there. That's why I've scanned until I can debug it properly. But basically, yeah, pretty much it. So actually, it's pretty much it. Yeah. Once I figure why this method broke, I'll update a repository that I sent early on. I'll update it in this repository. I'm seeing a quick. Oh, you can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyone with a question? Oh, also, if you bump into if you bump into a bug, please feel free to open an issue at the repository, and we can even look at it together. Yeah. Thank you. Back to you, MK.
Thank you so much. That was great. That was super, super amazing. But one thing maybe I should point out is that some of these collab might improve us on different sessions, because there's some things that actually we are discovering as we integrate. Like for instance, now I see you can only get the credits using Gmail account. I will follow that with Google to see if you have a startup and that's why you wanna like play around with the AI. What do you need to do? Also, you can see opportunities on where Google can integrate with Africa's Talking, especially on the voice. So there's something you're working on, and you'll be able to share that with time. But also, there's a reality where you, as a trainer of trainers and also a participant, you could build a solution that could really give us some insight on some of the innovation that we come up with, as well as work with you to be able to publish on this. So that's awesome. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ian to take us to the next module. And then we'll close with Manye. And Manye today is super excited to talk about AI safety alongside, if the time allows, because some of the, it's one of the topics that I actually find interesting, but also to know that we'll be sharing the codelabs with you. We're just figuring out the email permission on where those codelabs are being hosted. It's something you're following up. Welcome, Manye, and it's good to see Sharifo. Shout out to you, Josephat, Makel, Christine. Yeah, I can see a couple of you that are familiar names. Edward, Bridget, Ruth. So feel free to turn on your say hi, thumbs up, or something you're following once in a while. So you don't look like you're talking to non-existent people. So everyone has presenter mode activated, which means you can activate your microphone and your video to ask any question that you may have, or even to get some clarity. I can see Michael Mode, Emmanuel, Roland from Uganda, Emmanuel, Brian Matoke, Adam Katani from Tanzania, Sharifo from Gambia, Joelisa Kenya, Ravin, James, Benjamin, Ton, Simon, Alan, Gimisola, Christine, and Aaron. Welcome, guys. Feel free to interact. Very nice, Roland. I can see you on the developer mode. Yeah? Oliver there. Yeah, man, when you see people, the energy changes. So good to see you, man. And time to time, turn on the video, interact. And Emmanuel, shout out to you. If I have some swag, you're the person I would say that's why, because you've been very consistent, listening, taking a break, making it so real, man. That's the spirit, because most of these sessions will be doing them online to reach most of the people across Africa. So don't be shy. We are easy people. Even if you're not like ready for the camera. Of course, this video will be shared, but that's the reality, man. The authentic you are, the better. So without further ado, Ian Gidungo, welcome on stage.
Okay, hi guys. Hope you all are doing great out here. Hope you all can see me and can hear me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll be taking you through module 3, which is building, securing, and deploying stacking integrated applications. Let me just share my screen a few. Screen. Okay. Hopefully my screen is visible. Yeah. Okay. Okay, based on the title, you can all see it's building, securing, and deploying Africa Stacking integrated applications. So the first two initial modules were sort of like an intro to just get you started, get you familiar with Africa Stacking, get familiar with Google Cloud, Google AI services. So there's still a couple of modules that haven't been shared at the moment. These are mostly to do with Google and how you can set up your Google account, set up anything regarding Google. That's your developer account, getting those credits, even setting up environments such as Cloud Run or any other service that you might require while on this program. So the initial one is the foundation setup. So this one basically just assumes, not assume, so like one of the prerequisites is that you have already understood how to set up Africa Stocking APIs. So based on the initial two modules, you've ATR account. You have like basics of the AT ecosystem. That's the different services that we offer. That's SMS, USSD, voice, SIM swap, those different services offer. So this just assumes that you have basics on those. And as we proceed, we'll also sort of piggyback on some of the different Google Cloud services that we are going to be interacting with as we continue. So one, you've already set up the development environment. So this is sort of like your code environment. You've seen the basics of how to set up that on Colab. So you can easily set up different environments. So if you're used to Python or JS, whichever language that you're comfortable with, or you can still do that on your local environment, but we'll see how you can deploy it on Google Cloud, either on GCP or Cloud Run. Okay, then we'll set up, we have the environment setup and API Explorer. So this one has already been talked about by Sylvia and Dagi. So setting up your AT Sandbox account, but if you might need live access to sort of either two-way SMS shortcode, if you're going to be doing two-way SMS, you might need to request for that, which might be activated. So you can always just reach out to us and can do that. API credential management has already been mentioned. So you can either use the secrets on the Colab or even use Google Secret Key Manager. So basics have already been talked about, SMS, voice APIs. So you can either use CAL or use any programming language that you're mostly comfortable with. And also an intro to AT webhook architecture has already been mentioned. So how you set up that on your AT account on the dashboard. So for whichever product that you might be using, may it be SMS, that's for the incoming requests. Up that web, we'll look at a few examples on that and also look at our account. Okay. So when that's opening, we proceed that. Okay. And then that has already been mentioned in terms of AT webhook architecture and everything. So in terms of setting up setting that up, Doug has already shared, you can do that, but we'll still be focusing on that and how you can easily use that. And then, so we'll also look at how you can set up Google Cloud. So just go to cloud.google.com. And so if you have not already gotten your, so I think there was a link that was shared on the chat on how to access your credits, the initial credits. Just go and set that up. This is my personal email. Yes, okay. Set up your account. So we'll look at different services that are, so some of these are going to be talked about by the Google Cloud experts, but we'll still cover a few while interacting with it. Okay, so that in terms of setting up Google GCP project, enabling services, and even so I don't think we'll enable billing at the moment since you have credits. Then we'll cover some authentication patterns and then how to set up like some of your serverless applications and the different Google SDKs on Colab. And then for development workflow, so since some of my code examples are a bit huge, I'll be linking this AT Google course code example repository on the Colab, since so that you can easily interact with it to get them running and deploy it. So initially, so if you're using Node.js, you can just set that up on the Colab, set up Node.js, set up your Africa stocking projects directory on Colab, then install the necessary dependencies that you might require. So we'll require the AT npm package, Express, you might maybe or not require this body parser, cause and .env. Then, as mentioned, you can either set up a .env over here or use the secret key credential manager over there. And then we'll proceed to just set up a simple SMS bot. So this is primarily how to, based on the initial example on, just log in real quick. Okay. Sorry, that. As loading. So you can either use some of your applications or we'll currently just focus on just for this presentation, we'll just use the sandbox. So you'll just and set up a callback for the in SMSs. So we'll do that as we proceed. Okay, let me just go back. So this SMS bot is a simple program just to give the basics of SMS and how to easily consume a callback. So based on this example over here, so most of them are going to be hands-on practical examples, whereby we'll just continue to advance them as we proceed. So this initial application here, we easily just setting up Express and Africa stocking for SMS. So we have the SMS webhook over here. This is what we'll input on our dashboard. So this is the endpoint that we'll utilize there. So the initial part will be your base URL and your server that you have set up, and then we're deploying that. So a simple program, but if the code example is not as clear, I'll be sharing it on, I'll be linking this, what's it called? This repository. So most of these examples are going to be much clearer as we proceed. If the font is not visible, please let me know. Okay. Does anyone? Okay, the font is okay. Is there anyone having an issue hearing me? Okay, if I'm audible, we can proceed. So I'll be linking some of these examples, so whereby you can easily just copy them and run them on Colab and test them out. So you can easily test it out and you'll get different logs as we proceed. So the second bit that we'll be talking about, or that you'll be teaching, is security fundamentals. So how to implement OAuth. So this is a service offered Google. So you can easily utilize signing with Google for your applications. We'll cover some bit on that. API key management. You can do API key rotation. You can easily update different API keys and everything. Also, we'll just jump to this bit we have already mentioned that authentication and encryption, and security. So how we'll be encrypting some of this data, and this has already been mentioned, the HMAC signature verification for webhooks. So at the moment we mostly whitelist, but preferably you should be doing HMAC verification, whereby you have a secret that you provide to your end user, whereby they will verify it for each and every request that they might be receiving on the callback, so as to ensure it's a valid request that's coming from an authorized provider. So also do some input validation and sanitization, and then we'll just be focusing, our focus will be mostly on building and also securing them. So on this multi-channel application architecture, so you can easily, based on the initial basics that we have been shown, so whereby you want to build, so based on the services that we offer, airtime, USSD, voice, SIM swap. So for SIM, if you're financial institution and before either disbursing or some money or a loan to an individual, you need to verify that this is an authentic user, and maybe their SIM swap, their line wasn't swapped in a given duration. So you can easily utilize some of those API. So, and then for SMS, if you're also building, if you're so any financial application or transaction will require sort of like an SMS just to inform the end user either that their money has been disbursed or they have sent some money to a certain user just for information purposes. And then for we have covered SMS and SIM swap. Then for airtime, so we can build as Dagi mentioned. So you're sort of like an e-commerce platform, and you are doing some loyalty programs, and you want to easily motivate or just give back to your customers in terms of loyalty. So based on their loyalty points, you can easily disburse them some airtime or whichever loyalty product that you might use or might be comfortable with for your business or something. So utilizing airtime or even the data API to easily disburse airtime or data to your end users. So we can easily build out examples like those e-commerce platforms, like their loyalty program, whereby you want to disburse airtime or data for your loyal customers. And then for USSD, these are common service that is used by many individuals in Kenya or Africa in general, whether you want to buy airtime for yourself, you can just dial the *544 USSD application and purchase airtime. So you can easily build different services on USSD, whether it be, so I'll show you some few examples whereby we'll be building out like a simple banking application and also like a simple customer service application, whereby we'll continue to advance it, doing some different integrations as we proceed. For premium SMS, if you're a service provider who offers premium service content to your end users, whereby they have to pay to sort of, if you offering like key information in terms of agriculture, and the end farmers need to subscribe to your service, whereby you'll be sending them daily or weekly information regarding how to better do the better farming practices or whichever content that you might deem necessary for them, they might need to subscribe. So that's the premium SMS service. So this is a premium SMS. This is a service whereby end users subscribe to, and they'll be charged for each SMS that they might be receiving. Then for the voice API, so if you want to build out a call center, you want to build out any voice application whereby so for example, we'll build a simple customer service application whereby we'll utilize the voice API to do like call routing, forwarding, and also call recording and also playback, whereby you can route a different call. So as we continue to proceed, whereby if for example, we are building out this application and we might have like a basic menu whereby most of the initial calls are routed to an agent. If the agent is not able to handle the call, it's forwarded to an actual individual. We'll see how that can work out. And also the text-to-speech integration. This is on the say action, we'll just see whereby you can choose a different voice for your end users, or even connect that to either a SIP agent and transform that speech to text, convert that text to speech. And then I think I've already mentioned this. So for the USSD, so we'll cover how you can do like different menu navigation patterns, also session state management, and also how you can default back to SMS if SD fails, and also some few performance optimization for USSD. So so here we'll do like a simple practical exercise whereby we'll be, so based on this content that I've mentioned above here, we'll build a simple customer service system. So the examples can, so this one can be like an open exercise whereby users can easily build out anything. So it doesn't have to be like a customer service, but for my initial example, we'll be building out a customer service application. So we can first look at the banking application, the USSD. So a simple USSD service. So this simple USSD service, this is primarily just a service whereby we'll just interact with how we can transition from one state to another or one menu to another. And as mentioned, the USSD, for USSD, you need to set this up on the AT dashboard. I'll show you that in a bit. So we can easily just come to the USSD over here. So for this case, both works for Sandbox and also for the live environment. So you can just create a channel. So this is the default channel. So since it's going to be like a shared, so we have different services. So we have like for USSD, we have like the shared channel and also the dedicated channel. So for the dedicated channel, you either have like a single *384 as your dedicated users.code, but if you want to, so more on that has already been mentioned. You can easily find that on our documentation. Let me just open that real quick. So for the different USSDs, so you can just come here and find the reference on how it works. Okay, so you can just find more information on how the different channels on the documentation over there. So let me check if I have any service codes at the moment. I don't have any, so I can easily just set one up. So I can either do like an 8100 or something. So that's my my code, my channel, and then for my callback over here, we can see that mine is USSD/bank. So we can assume this is my my URL, my base URL. So this will be different for everyone, for each and every individual. So you have your own base URL whereby the server is going to be running. And then I have the /USSD/bank. So this is my route that will forward it to this endpoint over here. So this is just to show you how that linking works. So you come create a channel and also set up your callback URL. So you mostly do this before or after completing after building out your USSD application, but you can either set that up on Sandbox just to get a sense of how the different menus will look like, and we'll see how it goes. So you just create that channel. So that's not available, so I can either just pick one of the suggested ones over here. So So we'll suggest for you different channels that are available. So you can pick one that's available for you. But for the live one, so that one will also be communicated as we proceed. So click that channel. Okay. Okay, then that will appear on your service code. So we can see that I have *384 *4264# as my service code, as my USSD service code. And then so over here we have two endpoints. So we have URL. So you can either set up your callback URL or your events URL. So the events URL will be triggered in case an event has happened and you want to receive information regarding that event. You can set up your events URL over here, but defaultly you'll just set up your initial callback URL and save that. So that has been saved, and then we'll just come back to our sample application. So over here, we'll just be receiving the session ID. So the session ID is very important since this is how you are able to distinguish each and every user dialing your code. So when a user dials a code, a unique session is created for them. Then we also receive the phone number and also the text. So the text is the inputs that they will have inserted while dialing the USSD code. Then we have our process USSD function, whereby we'll just see how that happens over here. And then in case an error occurs, we might need to log it, but there are different logging mechanisms that you can employ. So either you can use the default console log. You can use, so I'm sure there are different. So you can use the likes of is it Signale or something. But just to get us started, we can just use the simple console log. If we might need to get some more information in case there's an error that might have occurred, and then we'll just end the service with informing the user that the service is temporarily unavailable and for them to try back again later. So we'll just see the nitty-gritties of the simple USSD bank application. So you can build out, so since this is the initial sort of hands-on experience, we can build it out as complex as we might want, but for the simple practice exercise, I just want you to sort of get the basics of USSD. So I'm currently not using any package manager, a package for building out menus, since we may just need to. So there are a couple of packages. So we have the USSD menu builder. So these are packages that the community members have built out. So you can just go to npm, and then you can either just search for USSD menu builder. So these are different packages that different users have come up with to help you build out menus for you. So you can see, like for this example over here, I think the link has been added. I think they provide you with basic information on how to set up your different USSDs. I don't think this one supports Africa talking at the moment, but let me just search for that for one again. Okay, just this one compatible with Africa stocking. So we can see some of these menus that have been built out by the different community members. So they give you an easy way to just set up USSD, set up the different states, set up the different routing. But for my case, we'll just be doing this mostly hands-on. I can see there are different questions, but the guys answered them. Yeah, thank you. Saying when we have set that up, so since this one will be mostly the initial basics, I've said I won't be using any of those helper packages. So, but you can easily utilize them. But to get you started, you just need to know the basics of how different menus work or how USSD works. So initially, I just created a sessions map. So this map will basically just keep track of the different users interacting with the USSD application. But as we proceed, we'll just see how different ways you can set this up. So I have different, on the advanced modules, you have different session managers, whereby we'll cover how to set up like a DB or a memory cache, or even set up Redis to just help you manage your different USSD sessions and states. Just to get us started, we'll just proceed with a simple map. So you set up your map over here, and then we have a sessions, an accounts map also. So over here we have like a list of these are different phone numbers with their balances and their different names. So this is, we can assume this is like a DB. So this is information being fetched from the database, but just to for clarity, so just for clarity, we just assume that then we'll proceed to build out our simple SSD. So we'll check for the session. So this is initial one, just checks if we have this if we have this SSD session in our sessions map. So if not, we'll set up a new one. So with the phone number, with their state, and we can also append different data that we might require. So, and then we have a response and also a flag if you want to continue with the session or not. And then over here, we'll check if the account has this phone number. So based on the number that we'll receive in the SSD, if the account is not available, we'll just prompt them to register for our bank service. So just see over here, welcome. If it's not available, we'll just prompt them to register with their first name, and then we'll continue to exit. So if this is a user that's available, so we'll send them to the initial state, that's the home state over here. So over here, we have the different, as mentioned. So we'll just get this session and the state that's mapped to it. So on our initial map, we have this object whereby we have the phone number, the state, and the data that we might need to append to it. So on our menu, we can easily, let me just try and reduce the font a bit. Okay. Where is it? Okay, just close up here. Maybe that'll make it more clear. So we'll just in the initial home state, we'll just welcome them. So welcome either if it's Ian or Dagi or whoever will be sending up on our simple banking application. We'll just welcome them, then give them a couple of options whereby they want to check their balance, send money, buy airtime, or even get a mini statement, and then exiting. So over here we have if they choose one, I'll just show them their balance and end that. So option 2, if they choose to option 2 was send money, we'll just prompt them to enter the phone number that you want to send money to. So remember that we have like an initial balance for that, but an initial user signing up will have like a default balance of 0. So see, this is just a simple SSD application, but I think you get the information that I'm trying to relay. So since this is the initial home menu, we have the different states that we can transition to. So when a user clicks on one, so we change the state to send money, or if they choose option 3, so the state is whereby if a user might be in in the USSD session. So number 3, if they want to buy airtime, we can switch that up to airtime. So you can just name them however you want, or you can also look back at these examples provided or by these different packages. But since this is an initial one, just to get you started, you can easily just reference this. As I mentioned, I'll be linking it on the Colab, but since we can't easily just share them because they're using the company email, we'll just find a way to either create repositories and just have that content there, or either use personal emails for that. As you can just follow the different states. If you want to send money, you enter the amount you want to send. So this is the whole process is being handled over here by the process SSD. And also remember that we have the session states over here. So if if the flag is we want to continue with the session, the session ID is still prepended back again. And if we let's say, for example, if you might need to terminate, so if you want to continue the session is false, we'll just delete the session from our initial DB, and then the user will need to do that same process again. So we'll cover, let me just go back, the different menu navigation, the different USSD states, and also defaulting back to SMS, and also some performance optimizations as we proceed. So since this is a simple banking application, doesn't have much information or many transitions. So we have a few menus for checking your balance, sending money, and also buying airtime. All that information you can easily just view it on this repository, which will share information. I think I'll share a link to that on the Slack channel, since everybody is there, and you can easily just view it, play around with it, modify it, advance it as we proceed, and then we'll just get to interact it. So as mentioned, all of that information in terms of sessions and analytics, you can view them on the AT dashboard. So when users start interacting with your code, we'll see a couple of logs over here. At the moment, since I haven't run my application, you are not able to see them. But in case you get it up running, it's as simple as I've shown you. Just come, create a channel, link your callback, and then you can start dialing you can either, so since we're using the sandbox, you can either run it on the simulator. Just come here. I think Sylvia showed you this. just set up your number, connect to it, and then just come here and play around with your USSD. So the initial one was *384. Let me just confirm that. And then 42641. On as my channel. So when I tell this, you can see, since I don't have anything running, this is the default message that we as AT provide. So when you have your application running, all of this will be forwarded to your callback that you have set up, and then you'll start to see some of these sessions or logs appearing. So as you can see, this code status is failed. We can just come here and view the details. In case you have your application running, you'll just see the different transitions or hops. So the hops is the transition from one menu to another. You'll see all of this information available here. So as I was saying, for a multi-channel custom application, all of these code examples are linked over here. So over here, so we have this multi-channel customer. So here we are combining different services. So we have already seen how we can combine USSD with AT. So, but for this case, we can see how we can AT voice and AT SMS. So over here, we have the different, so I'll just go back again and show you how to get that running. So since you are not able to test out voice over here, I'll just go back to my account and just show you a simple process that you can test that out. So over here, I have my sample application whereby I was testing out voice. Okay. So for voice, you'll just come to the live, the same process has already been mentioned. So create a team, create an app, and then come here and set up a voice number or request for a voice number. So you'll just come here for the voice numbers. Already have one running. So, okay. So the process is the same. Come here, fill up this request form, and then, or even just Slack us, and then we can just link you to the relevant teams that will set this account up for you. So over here, we can see have my callback that's running on Replit, but we'll just see, this is an old example. Over here, we can see this is my endpoint, that's API v1 voice, then calling. You can just name it, you can just give it as a descriptive name that you want. And so based on whichever convention that you are comfortable using. So since I use version APIs, so I'll just name mine as v1, then voice, then calling. It can be as descriptive as you want. So I won't update that. So just cancel. So the process is the same, just request for a number, and then we link that for you. Then we will proceed to just view. So for our customer service, so for this example, we can have the voice menu, the incoming as the default, what is it called? As the default callback endpoint over here. So I can just mine as voice incoming. So since when a user, so when you look at the documentation, we'll see how the flow how voice works. So when end user dials a customer service number, so it goes to the telco, then the telco will relay that call to us, then we'll link it to your callback, and then you'll proceed to process or handle that call on your end. So this is the process of handling the call information. So when I receive a callback, I'll generate a voice response, which is a greeting, just welcoming the user to a customer service customer service application, and then so we'll just look at it and see how to go about that. So our initial one will greet the customer, and then over here, since we are generating the voice, the action was a greeting. So we have this state, that's the greeting state. So we can set up the different voice. So you can set up a woman, a man, all this information has been provided on our documentation. I'll just link that up over here. So on the say actions, so we have a couple of actions. So for voice, you can make a call, handle calls, do calls transfer. For the different voice, you can choose the different voices. So since we are currently using Google text to speech, you can look at the different voices provided and choose any voice that you are convenient or your end users are comfortable hearing or listening to. So all this information is provided here on our documentation, but in case you might have a challenge or might need anything to be explained, we'll provide that information for you. So as we proceed, we'll just look at this example. We'll just create the user and tell them, welcome to a customer service application. So you can either press 1 to check your balance, press 2 to report an issue, or even 3 to talk to an agent. And then over here we have the get digits. So this is an action also on the documentation. So this action helps you to capture the input provided by the end user or by the user dialing your phone number. So this one helps you to capture the necessary information. So if they press 1 and then so you'll just tell them, so please enter your choice, then followed by hash. So hash is the pound key. When you complete pressing an option, you can either do hash or you can either transition them without putting in the hash option. Then over here we have the callback in the voice menu. So in this get digits option or this get digits action, so you can see based on the documentation, we have like the timeout. So in case a user doesn't put in a number within 30 seconds, this will we can either replay the message for them or terminate the call. Then we have the callback. So the callback is how you will transition or route the call to a different action that you might want or a different menu. So in case a user inputs either 1, so over here we have our menu over here. So we can see that this call, so we have our base URL, as I mentioned. So the base, you have the base URL and then the voice / menu as the callback that we will transition our users to. So over here we have the menu, voice menu endpoint or callback over here. So over here, we'll just be capturing the digits. So the DTMF digits. So when you destructure, that's sent back from the voice action. You can get a couple of so on the object, on the request body, you'll get different details, but we are mostly interested with the DTMF digits. So when a user presses 1, we'll just generate a response prompting it to just tell them the balance. So when a user does option 3, we'll just route them to voice agent. I'll show you that in a few. So this one just helps you to so you can have as many endpoints as you want that you can route or transition users to. So we'll just come back again to our agent, to our voice service over here. So in case, so when the option is 3, that's agent. So we'll change our state now to an agent, and then we'll route you to an agent, whereby so you'll hear please hold as we connect you to any available agent. And then so we have the action. So all of these actions have been documented here. So when you want to sort of route or redirect a user, so use a redirect or either dial or use this dial action over here. So when you dial this action, so this is whereby you provide the number, and then the user will be reconnected to a different person without sort of terminating the initial call. So, and that will be handled separately. And then in case, so in case a user, so over here, we also have the customer service SMS. So we'll just go back to our dashboard over here again. So maybe, for example, for our customer service, we have shortcode. So our customer service has set up a shortcode. I'll just use the sandbox just to illustrate that. So we'll just come back here and set up. So we'll check my shortcodes. I have one at the moment. So, okay. So since this is my current shortcode, say, and then on the callbacks, so the incoming messages. So over here, I'll just come here and set up my, this is an example. So this will be based on where your service will be running. So let's say, for example, mine is running on example.com/customer service/SMS. So as my callback, so since this is not a valid one, nothing will happen. So we have set up an incoming endpoint. So over here we have our shortcode and our incoming SMS. So in case a user wants to interact with our customer service without either dialing, so in case the USSD is down, we can provide them an option to SMS our shortcode, and we'll get back to them. So when a user sends a message to our shortcode, we'll receive that. So it will go to the telco, then the telco will relay that to AT, and then AT will link that to you via your callback that you have set up on the incoming SMS. So on our incoming SMS, whereby we have our customer service SMS, we'll receive the information, and then we'll proceed to handle this over here. So we have our handle SMS. So we'll just, so in case we have like a session, or in case we have a session, we will check if either the user dialed it on USSD. If not, we'll just set up a new session for them, and then we'll just proceed to So this is just relaying that same information. So that was provided on the voice call. So you can either check your, so we'll give you an option to either check your balance, report an issue, or even speak to an agent. So if a user enters option 1, we'll just send them their balance. So this is just a fictional one. So this one can be like a call to your DB, and then also you'll need to do some authentication and validation in order to ensure this is a correct user that's requesting for that information, and then return to them their balance, and then we'll transition our state to shown balance. So in case we have already shown our balance, so we can continue with the different menus. So and then if the user dials option 2 whereby they want to report an issue, so we'll just send them an SMS telling them to describe their issue, and then switch their state to issue collection, or you can just be descriptive, so as possible, in order to help you navigate in your navigation. So if we switch back to the issue collection state, we log that as a ticket, and then we'll respond to them within it. So depending on your response time, you can either do either. So it can be within 24 hours. So within 24 hours, it can be either within like 20 minutes or whichever period that the issue is being investigated, and then we can log that issue. So over here, we can have as many menus as you want. You can play around with this. You can create as different menus. So over here, if a user wants to talk to an agent, we'll do that as a transfer, and then continue to proceed that same case again. All of this code is available, and we'll link that so that you can easily just have it as for your reference. I hope that has been really informative. So for USSD, SMS, and also for voice. So we'll continue to sort of advance them. So over here we have some different advanced modules whereby we have like a session manager. So this one will, so when I share this, you can easily just look at them. So in case you want to sort of get different sessions, you want to update the session, update, and that even for our customer service, we have even a sample DB over here, just to sort of simulate that whole X for building, securing, and then for deploying, we'll come back to how you can set up Docker files and even Docker Compose to just run your application, just to give you a sense of what's happening. Let me go back to a module over here. So this was the initial application. So now we'll cover how to do like Google AI integration. So the objectives for this will be like, how do you, so for this initial example that we have, how do we now combine Google Cloud AI services, AT applications? So you can either build like conversational AI agents. So like based on like Dagi's example, you can connect your Google Gemini API keys and just build all these conversations with your AI agents. So especially like for the 2 ASMs, then how you can do like natural language processing workflows, and then you'll have like an overview of like the different services. But some of these might be covered by the Google experts. So this will be mostly just to sort of reference what they'll be maybe providing. So like if you want to set up like so for a customer service application, you can set up most of these workflows easily with either like Diagflow and just build out these flows that you want. So like, let's say for example over here, where is it? So how we are switching from different states to another. All of these can easily be done using these Google services. So for cloud text to speech, for voice processing, and also like for cloud Sean. So like if you're building out this application, this USSD or this voice service, so you want it to have multilingual support. So you have like different people have different literacy levels, and people might or are used to sort of conversing with their sort of local language. You can have support for that. So we'll just look at the different models and the different language supports that they have, and then you can either use that for the different sentiment analysis based on the different applications that you might be building. So let's say, for example, our customer service application, in case a user is calling while being frustrated, maybe your main application is having an issue and they are calling the customer service, so we can gauge the different tone that they have using the different services. And then for our agent, so we'll have like a sample project whereby we'll do like SIP and just see how you can connect voice to like an agent. In case, so for our initial example over here, whereby let's say for this customer service agent, in case you have like less manpower in your organization or in your let's say in your organization, you can set up like an agent to handle most of this. So let's say, for example, for voice, you can have like a bucket. So you can explore Google Cloud over here. So like the different services that they offer, create like a storage bucket whereby you can reference. So like you can have like a most of your organization data in like a bucket, and then you can just link it up, and just so for your agent might be referencing that bucket in order to respond back to your users. And in case there's a point whereby it's unable to sort of provide an answer, so you can just link it or just transfer that call to an actual agent. So this will help with like efficiency and everything. So this one will be like a practical exercise whereby now for initial customer service, how can we sort of advance that? So how do we include some of the Google AI cloud services, either for voice or SMS? We can power that, and then we'll just cover that in mostly these advanced examples. And then also the context management across the different voice sessions, and also how to fall back when errors occur. So you can either fall back to SMS. And then finally, we'll just now come and deploy our applications on cloud. So over here, so you can so some of that will be mentioned. So you can come here and deploy your applications, create a VM to deploy that. But let me just go back. So for some of simple, so let's say, for example, you have like a different processing pipeline. So we have seen we have like different event callbacks. So you can set them up on the dashboard over here, especially like for USSD or for voice. Let me just go back to my service code. Okay, so we have the callback the events URL. If you want to sort of do some different processing for different events. So some of these workloads might be really small, or you might not require like a whole applications. You can now set up like some cloud functions that are linked to sort of this events URL. But in case an event is triggered, so your function will be triggered, and then you'll do the processing on the end. So this might be mostly like if you want to do some analysis or something. So for cold start, like in case, let's say for your function, we'll look at some of those when we get to this section, or some of these might be done by some of the Google experts. And then for Cloud Run, so containerizing your applications. So over here, we'll cover some small example of how you can set up your Docker file and then your Docker Compose. And then, so this one will just help you just run this application on Cloud Run. And then we do like automatic scaling in case there's a traffic spike or not, and then resource allocation and also performance tuning. So like we'll just look at how you can allocate different resources to your application, and for performance, like how best do you run your applications. And then finally, we'll just cover how you can easily deploy. So like based on the different serverless platforms, so how do you deploy it, and how do you compare the performance, or how do you even compare like which platform is best to deploy your application. So after covering this whole setup, whereby you have built, you have secured, and now you're now deploying your Africa Stocking integrated application. So the applications might be vast depending on your wants, or the problem that you are solving. So I hope this will be a good approach, and I hope this information will be clear, and that we will continue to build up on them as we proceed through this whole program. And in case anyone might have a question or might need some reference, you can just Slack us or just email us, and necessary information will be provided. Thank you for your time and for your patience. I'll be handing back to MK if there are no questions. So if there are any questions, I'll look at the chat over here so I can see, can you customize a message on voice? Yes, so the message is easily customizable. So let me just go back to the voice example over here. So over here on the say action, so you can do like, welcome to customer service, press 1 to check balance, option 2 to report an issue, or 3 to change speak to an agent. You can change this up to whichever flow that you want. So since it might provide them with different menus, or depending on, let's say if you're like your local telco provider, let's say for our case, Safaricom, when you call customer care, you'll just be welcomed with different menus. If you want to talk to an agent, or if you want to sort of check your balance or report an issue, whichever menu option that is provided. So the message is very much customizable even for the voice, as I mentioned. So there are different voices. You can just reference the documentation. It's already there. So on the say actions, you can choose any voice that you want. So all of this, you can just check the Google text-to-speech voices and choose any voice that you want to use. And also for the play, so if you don't want to use the say action, and you want to sort of play an audio for your end user. So this one can be if you're putting them on a hold, so you can play for them like an advertisement, or play for them an audio just to providing them with the necessary information. You can do that. So you can either use a say action or a play action just to provide a response to your user. So yeah. Yes. Yes, I'll be sharing the Git repo. Yes. Edward. So the audio to play has to be hosted on a URL. Yes. So the audio needs to be hosted on a URL. You can either use, so when you reach out to the AT team, so they'll provide you with with the necessary information on how to set that up. So if it's like an audio, where to best host that, and so for the best experience for your users. Yeah. So as you have seen on the documentation, for the audio, you'll need to link that as a URL. So for it to work. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Okay, if none, thank you for your time. I'll be handing it back to MK. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ian, for such a comprehensive deep dive. I hope guys are getting the gist and the meat of this deep dives and hands-on. So I would like to quickly welcome Benson Mahine, who will be taking us the last two modules or so that we can conclude. So without further ado, Mahine, the floor is all yours. Yeah, so as Mahine prepares, I would like to point out that we'll be sharing the video on this same page. So after the event ends at around 4 or 5 there, it will take a few hours to upload the recording. I see it's too long, so it will be 2 parts. And then by tomorrow morning, you should have, around the mid-morning, you should have the presentations. Also, we are working on getting the Colabs to you. Already you have the Google Colabs. They are on the page that you registered for this event. But remember, this is a trainer for trainers, so we'll have another session on 9th, but nothing stops you from actually starting to participate, starting to build and practice on the Colabs that I've provided to build the solution. This will be an ongoing process for the next 3 months or so, or 10 weeks per se. So feel free to reach out. I've already shared the Slack URL. I've seen most of you have joined. So if you have not yet joined, please do so. I've also invited some of you through email. So make sure that that is good. Riziki, the credits is on the pinned message, the last link there. Click on it and get some credits. The credit can only be shared during the workshops like this one. So make sure to make a point to join. Yeah, the channel is open, Edward. So feel free to, that's why we have created a Slack so that you can get to meet everyone across Africa. So if you have experienced a problem that someone else is experiencing and you have an answer, feel free. But all the trainers are there, as well as some experts in different fields of this program. And it's open for you to interact and ensure that you succeed. So yes, the answer is it's open for everyone to answer, and we always put our inputs. So without further ado, then whenever you're ready. As Ben looks for his microphone, unmute, and screen sharing, I would like to mention that definitely we'll do an in-person in Nairobi, Lagos, and Joburg, and we'll have plenty of food, swag, and experiences. However, we are starting these online engagements to get you prepared for various touch points. Places like Dar es Salaam, DRC, Ghana, and any other city that we will be covering should be, these online experiences should prepare you well to be able to handle these when you have an in-person, which will be supporting. But so again, to mention that we'll join online for a few hours to support with the critical questions for those who will be hosting it. Also, if you want to host in your city and you're not part of Africa's Talking community, but you feel like there's this community that could benefit, just let us know. We can try to see how do we support that initiative. We just want this program to reach as many devs as possible so that they can build. Maine, are you ready? All right. Yes, we do, Riziki. It's just that the community leaders who are there are no longer there, but we'll be doing something starting this October. Riziki, are you in Rwanda nowadays?
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, great. Thanks for the intro, MK. So I will be taking through the first thing was to do with the first thing was to do with a bit of AI safety, which you might have heard of maybe here or there. So I can take you through first of all what that is, and then I can show you an example that you can probably implement during your capstone, and then you can call it a day. I don't know. Okay. How much did I lose you guys? Okay, so I probably should start from the top, right? Okay, so for my section or for this period of time, we are going to talk about AI safety and the mostly what's that and how you can implement that, as well as some examples of how you can do that and a bit of the hackathon project. So the first thing is the AI safety. So that is just making your model, making sure your model, this is your Gemini, your Gemma, to be safe for a lot for that a very big use case. Like if you have a like customers, because there are some specific things that can either happen like if it present a fault maybe with the large language model just because of how they are made and just general information about how these models work. So the initial things would be what to do with the safety with the like if you can uh, it's kind of hard to explain but let me just okay, yeah, where are we? Yeah, so for instance, I can give an example. Like if you heard of computer vision models, those are just models that you're teaching a computer how to like basically see and identify stuff. There are some specific things that are going to be highlighted. For instance, if it's like a classification model for determining if that's a dog or that's a cat, as an example, there's some specific things that will be highlighted. And those are the things that the model uses to make the decision that hey, this is a cat. So let me show you a bit of that. I just logging into my Hugging Face page here. Hold on. Let's see. I found it. Oh, that my audio. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. There we go. So as that is starting, let me just show you a project that I worked on in the past and came to one of our summits. You may have come across it. Okay, that is working. Can I just show this one first? Okay. Share screen. Have it and go to this place.
So this was an application I worked on in the past, and this is a video application. And for the GitHub link, because the aspect of AI safety have been implemented there, at least in a that I'm supposed to push it in a couple of hours. Sorry, my Docker file didn't finish. Like it's just weird. So I'll do that. So where are we? So the data space open. So this application was basically using something in large language models called tool calling. That's just giving the large language model like other capabilities. Like now it can do the specific things that ToT offers. Like it can send a message on your behalf, it can make a voice call, like what has been gone through with Ian, and also send airtime as well. So I use this example because it's the fastest way you can easily transition this from a tool calling system to an model context protocol server. So that's just another fancier way of saying it's a more secure kind of way of not doing the tool calling. So if I click on this, check my wallet balance, it has all my account information and it just gives it to you. So this the difference is you can pick what you want, and then you can be able to see the results. Like it also has like DuckDuckGo integrated, and you can also do web search. So this can actually also be a capstone that you can do. Like you can maybe put it together, and then you can turn this into maybe an assistant that people can use in like the hospitality industry to like maybe gather information from a database or send information to clients. Yeah, it's all up to you. But the most important thing is what's going on in the backend here. So as you can see, uh, as I've been doing the tool calling, there is something here called inspect safety. So is that clear? Okay. So there's this thing called inspect safety section. What is it? I forgot. I can see it. So yeah. So there's this part called inspect safety. So there's a library called inspect in Python. You can find it in PyPy. So that can help you implement all these AI safety protocols, which I'm going to go through. Let's just go through this first part. So here it's activated, and before the large language model does something, there are some thresholds I put, or there are some text I put, and sometimes you can even disable it from doing things like not being able to send SMS or being able to do a voice call. So for the things we've done, sorry, that's a long log. First of all, another aspect of AI safety is using the reasoning models. So the reasoning models, they're good because they tell you exactly what this model is actually doing before it actually responds to the request. So here it says, okay, the user wants news related to latest technology trends. And then, yeah, this pose here kind of tells you what the model is going to do ahead of time. Some of them can do something sneaky over here and then can be able to see and then can be able to audit better. So over we just asked it like what are the latest technology trends, and then it figured out, hey, I have the capability of using this tool called DuckDuckGo, and it was able to search on my behalf. And this is all the information. Obviously, the UI is a bit better, but here it logs, so that's why it's not so cute. So here, this is relevant because there's the AI that OpenAI had an event about it a couple of hours ago. So this is pretty relevant, and this links are they also, if you click them, you're able to see it. So let me show you the AI safety aspect now. So well, in my implementation here, in this YAML file, here the specific checks I normally take. So this is the privacy reduction. So when specific things to do with phone numbers, emails, and things like those are available, the request, they're like automatically like blurred out when you look at them in the log. So that's what the inspect library helps you do. And then there's the PII detection, that's personal identifiable information as well. So this is like an extension of what I said before, but this one is specifically uses what are these things called? It uses like a regular expression to look for that. And I think there was some regular expressions here somewhere. Um, is it regular expression? Yeah, like let's say for example, these ones over here, these ones are to do with chemical or biological like prompts that people can put in. So those are the things that that's not the best example, but if you look for maybe numbers and phone numbers, emails, and stuff that can really relate to you, just extending what the privacy reduction system does. And then there's the bias detector. So initially, this is the assumption that someone can have. For instance, like let's say you've gone to a club and you are underage, right? And like there's this assumption from the bouncer, like, hey, this guy is underage, right? So he can't get to this club. So this is kind of the same thing, like with models. And if you've done like a lot of these tabular problems, like to do with, oh, you're trying to classify whether this person is going to stop using a service or not, or as an example. So when you look at the equation that is generated, when the model is fitted and you have all those coefficients, like maybe if you know maybe you're using linear regression and you have formula like something like let's say that, and so this C over here is usually the bias, right? So if it's a positive number, like maybe 0.4, and let's say your model is doing like classifying whether someone's going to have cancer or not, like it's obviously not supposed to say, hey, my initial assumption is you have cancer. It's supposed to be, hey, you don't have cancer, so maybe it's going to be a negative something. So these are now the checks you're supposed to do when you're looking at model for linear regression like that. But now this one is for large language models, and there's a way like some tokens or some keywords are matched. So it's sort of like a classification system, and then obviously your text is turned into this numerical form, and then there's some particular phrases in this numerical form that they classify the text, and then it says, hey, this is really biased information. Do not take it seriously. So that means like, for instance, it can take a side like, hey, no, you are obviously correct because of you are, I don't know, I'm trying to put this in a way that is not going to be really bad, but it's this is most of the time like the model agreeing with you and with something that is clearly wrong. Like for instance, maybe your model was trained like they usually cut off, right? Like maybe if you used like a really old like German model for the first edition, it might not know like, hey, the president of maybe Kenya is like like Ruto, so like it might say something else, right? So things like those. Hallucination detection, this is a very difficult problem, and as of now, I think there's only like two papers which have been released about dealing with this. So this is just like the model coming up with things, and it's very hard to uh, detect this, but there's some papers which maybe I can probably share, and then you can help like with this. But normally, like you just use a off-the-shelf model and then use it like a classifier. It takes your tokens and then it says, hey, like this information is very outdated, for instance. Now that depends on how updated your model is. So this is just detecting using another model for you repurpose it to do something else, which is now detecting if something is just made up and it doesn't really exist. But for the new methods, as it's generating text within your UI, it's gonna color everything and tell you, hey, this is more. So obviously, if you're using a spec library, set it to true, especially in production, people are using it. And then this is basically switch talking the model in the simplest form. So there are ways you can switch talk the model to do very weird things, like maybe like a good example is if you have specific instructions, you can override like what the model actually is supposed to be doing, and then you can tell it to do what you want. And that is now something like you can look for support information about that. And like if you don't put this, like most likely if someone detects that, they're gonna just hijack your model and your model would be doing the specific purpose it's supposed to be. Maybe it was supposed to be going through legal documents, be setting out airtime, for example. So this is very, very important to put. So make sure you do it. And then toxicity it could be now something very harmful. As an example, it's giving out like maybe like what's the best example for it? Maybe it says like it takes aside like it says, oh, only women of this kind of ethnicity do that and stuff like that. It's obviously wrong. People are different and you can't really generalize to the whole population like that. And in some cases, some edge cases, like some models will be able to not be able to detect things like those and just continue on to the particular situation that's not so good. So yeah, these are some of the checks you can do for AI safety, and this just relates to calls that the model is going to take into consideration based on your text. And then once you have those in place, oh, here the rejections are talking about for reduction. So it's going to look for emails, that's the regular expression it will look for numbers, credit cards, and stuff like that. It's just to protect the people who are using it and things don't end up in the law. So to summarize, for the systems like this where you're primarily using large language models, like you should have all these things set in place, and they're mostly related to number one, they're related to heuristics that you may have written. They're related to models that you probably can take from maybe Hugging Face and then import them, and then now do the inference or you call those models, and then they're able to do some of these checks. And some of them you just redirect the language model to do something else to be able to do these things like hallucination detection. So that is the AI safety aspect, part one. And the other one that I kind of alluded to before, but I didn't quite mention it. Sorry, I didn't quite show you about the visual part. So this one, I like models. A model I found online, and yeah, this one is not. See, so this one is sort of like the visual language models. Like since Gemini is multimodal, it will be able to, you can give it text, you can give it images, you can give it audio, and it will be able to process it in one way or another. And it can also draw these bounding boxes as well, like here, bounding boxes have been drawn. So you can say, like, this is the story, like you've given it an image, it's detected it's a dog, and it's a dog because within these bounds, it can see or it can detect it like a dog with about 0.99 accuracy or 99% accuracy. And then as these other ones go through, and we are able to now determine why this model was able to say like this was a dog. So when you look at this, what are the specific things that tell you that this is a dog? So audience. Or the question is like the model has said it's a dog. What are the specific things that you look at to say this is an actual dog as this model is loading? So things like the fur, the facial features here, the ears, and maybe this small tail over here, and the teeth, as an example. So that's how you would make the decision that, hey, this is a dog. But models do it a bit differently. And as you can see over here, this is a class activation map. This is just, I'm using a model to figure out like what are the most important things that the model takes into consideration to ensure to say like it is a dog. And over here, there's a certain part of the nose in this heat map. Over here, the red part was very important to say, hey, this is a dog. And some parts of the ear, and some part in the fur, and that. So things like these are ways of evaluating whether the model is actually doing its job. So that's that. For that's like a bit of the AI safety aspect. There are so many things to look into in this space. So there's not only looking at the things we've talked about, but also having a way of treating all this information and then putting classifiers on top of them to like rank this output if it's actually making sense as an example. And like if you wanted to do translation over here, maybe you want to say hi in French as an example, you just type that and say, what is this in French? And then maybe have a scoring system to actually know that, hey, this is actually accurate as an example. Great. So where are we? Okay, now we move to this other part of the example, which was part of your tone, where you can now, from everything that you've learned from Sylvia, Dagi, and Ian, you can now put all the system together and make something like, let's say, and actually this is a cartoon, so you're supposed to actually take a try and develop something like this. So you have like the tooling that Application provides, and now let's say you have someone on mobile and maybe they ask a question about something, and you want to make like some deep research agent, and these are just agents. This is just again the large language model doing something on your behalf. This time it's doing research as an example, and here our example could be fake news. Like maybe your friend is fond of telling you a lot of fake news, or what do they call it? Something like that, and you want to verify what he's actually saying is actually true. So you can make a system like that using what we just, and here maybe someone can send an SMS, and then the webhook, maybe through past the API, it does some background task, which is now look for information regarding your query, and now this land graph is just basically a framework that you can use to do the orchestration of this agentic system. This is just it's based on something called reason and act. So LandGraph is cool because it's very friendly to developers. Maybe tooling you're used to, and then you can just put this all together in a very small system, and then you can now people can over and over and over and over again and get their results. Obviously, you putting in steps to ensure that it's working well, and then also there's the part where you can implement a two-way SMS system, and then when the answer is gotten, and remember when you get these answers from this research agent, it's a lot of text. So you'll have to find a way to maybe chunk that text or break down the text into small chunks, and then probably send to the users like in those small chunks because you have like just a couple of characters if you're going to use SMS. But again, you can use other things like voice or anything that you prefer, right? And then I don't know, as an intermediate step, you can maybe use Redis to put in those chunks. Like if there are many, remember there's a lot of people querying this system. So you can imagine like if, like maybe 2,000 or more people are using this, and you're sending people are sending requests over and over and over again. So you can imagine you have like a ton of like queries here and messages to send. So if there's a way you can like chunk them up and then you send them to the user like one by one and hopefully be able to relay that information. So I have some small, okay, there's a question by Viziki Anthony. How would you differentiate building an MCP server against tool calling application? That's a good question. So for tool calling application, like the difference is you'll have to write the tooling. Like for instance, when you're writing your function over there and you have your very good doc strings there, remember to write doc strings or those things or the language model will get confused and your whole thing will break. So when you're writing all these functions to do different things, like you'll have to write each and every function and you and remember, these guys have different like SDKs that you're supposed to use, and you're supposed to like use all that information and put it in. So your code will code a lot in situations like those ones. But with MCP, it's like standardized, right? Like once you put the tooling, you don't need to write all these functions over and over again. It's already been implemented in a way more easier to maintain Python as compared to the tool calling system where you like directly give the large language model like access to this tooling. So to summarize, I'd say MCP gives a more standardized tooling for you to work with, but then tool calling will have a very brittle uh, infrastructure where you need to keep on changing the code, testing, and it's very hard to maintain in those situations. So I hope that has answered your question, like, Anthony. If not, please just can send more information and then I'll be able to get back to you. So when I come to the examples here, I have made, I had made something over here and let's see whether I'm going to get this message. So this is just using SF to send it and you're basically using the deep research agents, like we've said over here, where I'm trying to simulate that someone is sending, especially here in the developer side, someone is sending a query, and then we use the Gemini 2.0 Plus to go and find out, like, hey, what's the weather in Nairobi? And then you will be able to actually get that information. And as you can see, it is a lot of text. So you have to find a way to mark that up. And for some reason, I that message was not sent in the recipient, but maybe I can find another number. So the system will just go use tools like the Google search and be able to retrieve all this information, give you this particular output over here. So yeah, this can be anything to it. Doesn't necessarily have to be like this. Uh, you guys will come up with really cool use cases. This is just an example. Taking some time. Yeah, I think my phone numbers are just not good. But essentially, this person would get this message, and these messages, but this message up and sent to the particular user. So yeah, that's that for this particular application. It's just go to the diagram on Google. So you basically ask a question. The query will be so the query will be sent to the website, which is the Google search, and then this model, what it will do, like all your flavors of Gemini, the information will be searched, and then there is a reflection part. So this is where the the model actually gets the output and then reviews the output, and if the output reach certain criteria, which is it has like those citations as an example, it will get the answer right, and then the answer has been gotten. But then as we've added the step of, hey, this person is going to send for instance, a message based on this old research, and that's basically it with this. So a couple of use cases you can do with this is like the one I said for your friend really saying a lot of lies and you're trying to verify that, or it can be you can make a maybe a journal, what do you call it, like an editorial like group, like for the newspaper, like maybe Nation Kenya, and then maybe they want a system to verify every single post that maybe some of the editors and the writers have, and you can know how to navigate those kinds of cases. But those are the main things I want to talk about. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. Okay.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. In essence, that presentation is supposed to take 10 hours, guys. So he has hacked it. But this is to say that if no miss someone is not on mute. I think it's my name. Yeah, so you should not miss Thursday's presentation, where we'll be launching this in Nairobi. Possibly we'll launch this in Lagos next week, or next week but one, possibly. And after, we'll do it in Joburg. This also gives you an opportunity to schedule in your city and let us know the date so that we can prepare accordingly. But definitely in between, there will be office hours where we support, but nothing stops you from starting to build. This is open to everyone, apparently. And there will be some awards to be won. There will be some accolades and recognition, as well as badges. So that's why creating the developer profile is very important. For those who join in later, there's a pin message where you should create the developer profile on Google, set up your cloud console. Apparently, this requires you to use Gmail as of now, but we'll check with Google to see if you have a startup and you like to participate through that. How do you go about it? And we'll communicate on Thursday the way forward. Finally, you create Africa stocking account to access the APIs. And the last link actually can be used interchangeably with the link for Google Cloud, where you get some credits. So once you create the Cloud Console profile, using the same email that you've created the developer profile with to get the badges, then you can claim the credits. Unless there are questions, I would like to conclude this because we are 7 minutes past the hour as we had planned. In fact, give a shout out to all the presenters today for a wonderful job, taking us through the modules. Yeah, any question, feel free to unmute your video, your audio, and say something. You can see Graham there sharing his live emojis. Also, Ian. Ian even has activated. What are those? Is it confettis or the fireworks? Fireworks. Can see Dagi. That's cool. That's cool, man. Seeing you guys is amazing. Everyone has a presenter, although nothing stops you from at least. Sherifo, we have not seen you for days. Michael, are you ready now to take a module? Edward, Edward is also a Safari driver. Don't know. Yeah, one of the OG devs since back in the days. Good to see you here. Yeah.
Yeah, MK, it's been a while.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How is it going?
But I've been following events. It's good, man.
Yeah. Are you back in Gambia or you're still in the East Asia?
I'm back in Gambia.
Very nice.
Just
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, like I'm so thank you, man. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Yeah. So if you wanna host this between now and December, feel free. It's a very good program for your community and even for yourself. So you're welcome to participate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank
Roland from the Pearl of Africa. Good to see you. I don't know if your colleagues will be joining. You should, yeah.
I'll tell them.
Yeah, we'll also be sharing this video, so not to worry for those who have missed. Yeah, I don't know if I can see more people. Makel, Adam Katani, Brian Matoke. Are you from Uganda by any chance, Brian? James Wawero, Ravin Rianga, Roger Sindocha, Gloria Mayoyo, Bemi Sola Esho, Prince Odoi. Are you based in Lagos, Esho? Bridget Washira, Michael Mode, and just Fat himself, very active. By the way, today if I had swag, I would give 2 people. Just and these are chief who had logged in since we started. Is he still there? Is a guy who was consistently. He left. Okay.
Yeah,
but that's the spirit. You're here. Where are you? Okay. I can't see all the screens at the same time unless you.
It was me.
Oh, it was Roland. Okay. But you guys know who I'm talking about. The beauty of community, it's very open. It's very open and very fair. So thank you so much, guys. I know we could have spent all the hours somewhere else, but we chose to spend here. It means something. So as he said, go forth and spread the word in the technology. Until Thursday, have a good evening. But our Slack is still open. So if you can answer a question or you can ask one, feel free. We'll open it up for the community. You'll see a lot of people joining. Feel free to support, make it active in terms of technology. And also, we are tracking the code usage. Don't share it outside this community. Claim your $5 there and spend it wisely until Thursday. And then see you there. This is for Nairobi, but nothing stops you from joining from everywhere. Have a good evening and be safe.